Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
One Piece, The Fire Within, by XFangHeartX. What starts out as a normal exploration turns into a fight for Luffy's life, when an evil dragon named Kovar suddenly abducts him. In order to save him, the Straw Hats must go somewhere they have never gone before. Inside their captain's memories. Huge shout out to all the warlords of this channel. You know who you are. Want to stand among legends? Join the channel membership and show your support. Adios.
The memory shifts once again, revealing the Straw Hats inside some sort of disheveled old cabin. And inside was Luffy, who had been tied up to a wooden post while Porkamy and his minions surrounded him. The boy barked and shouted, demanding to be let free, but they refused to let him go. That's when Porkamy approached him with a gigantic mallet. "You damn kid!" he shouted as he slammed the mallet on Luffy, only for it to bounce right off him, causing the other pirates to shriek in surprise. "I told you my body's made of rubber since I ate the gum-gum fruit, dummy," Luffy exclaimed. "So he's one of those guys?" one of the pirates questioned. "This kid's a freak," another shouted. "Just once. I wish people would go one day without calling Luffy a freak," Usopp muttered. "Shush," Nami shushed. "Something's about to happen." "Just in case," Robin said as she crossed her arms, causing 4 arms to appear on Aika's shoulder, which then proceeded to cover her eyes and her ears. "Hey," Aika exclaimed. "Kumi, you too?" Blizzard exclaimed as he covered Kumi's eyes with his paws while Chopper covered her ears. "Shut up, you whining fools," Porkamy shouted as he glanced down at Luffy, who glared at him in defiance. "A devil fruit? Huh? Looks like this kid's for real." He then looked over at one of the pirates. "Get me a pair of gloves." "Why yes, sir," one of the pirates answered as he ran to get a pair. "You guys," Porkamy ordered as he pointed to some other pirates, "tie the kid up to the rafters." "Yes, sir," the pirates answered as they untied Luffy, but then tied him up to one of the rafters before he could attempt to get away. Then, one of the pirates came back with a pair of brown gloves, with spikes on the knuckles. "Oh, my God," Nami whispered in horror. "Don't tell me, is he gonna?" Usopp questioned. "I think I'm gonna be sick," Chopper added. "Listen up, you brat," Porkamy said. "That money that Ace stole from us is very important to our crew. Understand?" He then held up the gloves so Luffy could get a good look at them. And needless to say, the boy looked rather unnerved. Then, he grabbed Luffy by the head, causing him to whimper in fear. "So, since you seem to know where it is, you need to tell us, now." No way," Luffy shouted. "Never," Porkamy growled before he pushed Luffy back, causing him to swing backwards. And when he came forward, he was punched across the face by Porkamy's spiked gloves, which made the Straw Hats cringe as blood sprayed into the air from Luffy's face. "It worked," one of the pirates exclaimed. Porkamy pulled his fist away, the spikes dripping with blood, while Luffy whimpered in pain. Tears stung at his eyes, threatening to fall, but he didn't cry. Not yet, at least. Still, the sight was enough to leave the Straw Hats horrified. "Shit," Sanji cursed. "I don't know if I can watch this," Nami whispered. "Me, neither," Robin said. "I used to be able to see this sort of thing without a problem, before, but now. To see Luffy like this." "I know," Zoro replied. "It's sickening. You should know better than to piss off a pirate, boy," Porkamy threatened. "Our captain, Blue Jam, is very brutal." Luffy whimpered, the pain from his open wounds becoming too much to bear before he began to sob and scream. "It hurts," he cried. "It hurts so bad, I'm scared. Somebody, help me, mommy, help me." He's so desperate for help, Brook began. He even calls out for his dead mother. "Poor Luffy," Chopper whispered, sadly. What's happening?" Aika asked. "I thought I heard Big Brother scream." "Don't worry about it, Aika," Robin answered. But, Aika started. "She said don't worry about it," Blizzard barked. "Now keep your eyes and ears closed." No way she needs to see this, the wolf dog thought. "You guys go out and find Ace and Sabo," Porkamy ordered. "I'll deal with the boy." On that, His men went out to look for the two boys in question while Porkami remained behind. "All right, kid," he said. "I'm sure you don't want to get punched again. Now tell me where the money is." "And no," Luffy shouted. "I won't tell you." Bam! Porkami punched Luffy across the face again, causing him to cry out in pain, again. "Talk, you little bastard," he shouted. "Where is it?" "I said I won't tell you," Luffy cried. "Go to hell." Bam! He got punched again. "Damn brat," Porkami growled. "Why won't you talk?" He punched Luffy across the face again, causing him to cry out in even more pain. Punch after punch, Luffy's screams and pleas for help got louder. And eventually, some of the Straw Hats just couldn't take any more. Nami, Chopper, and Usopp forced themselves to look away, but they could still hear the sounds of screams. Robin could only lower her head, grimacing in disgust, sickened by Porkami torturing her captain. Frankie and Blizzard growled in rage, but they knew they could nothing to stop it. But the sight was enough to make their blood boil. Zoro, Sanji, and Brook were the only ones who could keep watching in stunned silence. "I don't know why," Sanji began, "but it's almost amazing that he's still so defiant." "I thought I respected him before," Zoro said, "but this just blows me away." "It's times like this I'm glad I don't have blood vessels anymore," Brook added. Thankfully, Aika and Kumi still had their eyes and ears covered. The others knew that they, especially the former, wouldn't be able to handle seeing such torment. Eventually, it grew to be dusk. But Porkami was still punching poor Luffy, the spikes stabbing and cutting into his flesh and drawing more blood than before. Chopper couldn't even begin to imagine how much blood he might have lost by now. But Porkami wouldn't relent. It only got worse when his men came back and said that they couldn't find Ace and Sabo, causing him to punch Luffy even more savagely. And at that point, Luffy no longer had the strength to scream. By now, he was covered in blood and lacerations, but Porkami wouldn't let him go. "How long is he gonna keep punching him?" Usopp asked. "It's like Luffy's not even alive at this point." "He must still be alive," Robin said. "If he fell unconscious, the memory would have faded to black by now." "This is just too much," Nami whispered, her heart breaking and her eyes tearing up at having to see the boy who would become her fiancé being beaten so horrendously. Even Aika was in tears. Even though she had her eyes and ears covered, it was almost as though she could sense her half-brother's pain. "Stop it. Please," she begged. "You'll kill him." "I don't know what's happening," Kumi muttered, "but I really wish it would stop, already." "You know," Zoro began, "despite the situation, I can't help thinking that we don't give Luffy enough credit, in spite of how stupid he acts. He has no reason to help Ace, and yet he hasn't ratted him out, at all. Even when he was a kid, he's still a man." "Yeah," Frankie agreed, "but if nothing's done soon." Just then, Porkami stopped punching Luffy, seething with rage. "Just talk, already," he barked before he punched him again. "This is getting ridiculous, kid." "Porkami, stop," one pirate cried. "Even I can't look at this anymore. It's obvious the kid won't talk. Let's just let him go. Have some mercy, will you?" "At least someone actually has a heart," said Robin. Porkami growled before he kicked the man to the ground. "Look for those two brats if you got time to stand up for this kid," he shouted. "Don't you get it? Our lives are at stake if we don't get that money back. We're already late in bringing it to Captain Bluejam." The Straw Hats, save for Aika and Kumi, gaped as they heard those words coming from Porkami's mouth and the expression on his face. Of course, Zoro muttered. It's the same alpha male mentality with these morons. He's not torturing Luffy out of some sick thrill. He's doing this because he's afraid of getting punished by his superior, or worse. "You know, I shouldn't really be surprised," Nami Mnu, Porkami shouted. "Where the hell is the money?" I won't tell you," Luffy whimpered, weakly, yet still full of defiance. "RRRGH, Porkami growled as he kept punching Luffy again and again. "I said talk, damn it. You have to say something, eventually. Stop keeping secrets like you're a grown-up. Talk." "I won't tell you," Luffy repeated. "I won't tell you, I won't tell you, I'll never, ever tell you." A pause. But then Porkami glared before he took off the blood-stained gloves, and grabbed his sword. "Fine," he hissed. "If you won't tell me, you can die." "No," Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Blizzard, and Brook cried. But just as Porkami was about to make do on his promise, the wall suddenly burst open, and Ace and Sabo came leaping out from behind it. "Stop right there," they yelled. Aika gasped, having pulled Robin's hands away from her eyes, before she beamed brightly with tears of relief falling from her eyes. "Big Brother Ace and Big Brother Sabo," she exclaimed. "It's about damn time they decided to show their asses," Blizzard shouted. "What the hell kept them?" "I think they were trying to hide their treasure first," Chopper said. "Still, they should have realized Luffy might have been in danger sooner." "Well, at least they showed up now," Nami said as she watched Ace strike a pirate in the head with his pipe. "Outta my way, punk," he shouted. "Porkami, that's him," cried the pirate that tried to stand up for Luffy earlier. "He's the kid who stole the money," shouted another. "What?" Porkami questioned. "Ace," Luffy exclaimed. "RRGH," Ace roared as he lunged for Porkami, only for him to grab the 10-year-old boy by the throat. "Guh. Well, you saved me the trouble of looking for you, you punk," Porkami said. "Your little buddy here was so damn tight-lipped." "Get your grimy paw off me," Ace choked, struggling to get free. "Sabo. Take this," Sabo shouted as he appeared behind Porkami, quick as a flash, and slammed his pipe against the back of his head, causing him to drop Ace, who coughed as he rubbed his neck. "Porkami," the pirates cried as the brute fell to the ground. "Yes," Aika cheered. "He got him, way to go, Big Brother Sabo." "You do know he can't hear you, right?" Kumi asked. "So," Aika asked. "I'm still cheering, anyway, yeah, go get him." Porkami seethed as he turned to face Sabo, rubbing his head. "That really hurt, kid," he said. "Don't you know what happens when you pick fights with a grown-up, huh?" "Hey," Ace shouted. "Your opponent is behind you, Porkami." He then glanced over at Sabo. "Quick, get Luffy outta here." "Got it," Sabo nodded. "Be careful, the guy's got a sword." On that, Ace rushed Porkami again, this time being a little more prepared. Porkami attempted to slash him with his sword, but Ace fluidly dodged the strike. In fact, every slash Porkami made, Ace deftly avoided each attack with the same kind of acrobatic skill that Luffy would later show when he was a teenager. "Do you see that?" Usopp questioned. "He's avoiding all his attacks like they're nothing." "That Ace sure was something, even back when he was a kid," Frankie exclaimed. "Such impressive skill," Brook added. "I hate to say it," Zoro started, "but even I wasn't that good back when I was his age." "So you admit it, then," Sanji smirked. "Shut up," Zoro barked. As for Sabo, he managed to swipe a knife from one of the pirates before he used it to cut Luffy down from the rafters, then caught the boy in a fireman's carry. "Gotcha," Sabo exclaimed. "Ace, I got Luffy, now let's amscray." On that, he began to run, until he realized Ace wasn't following him, causing him to stop and turn to see the D-carrier glaring up at Porkami. "Ace, we gotta go," Sabo shouted. "Come on, no way," Ace answered. "Go on without me, I'll catch up." "Oh, not this again," Sabo bemoaned. "Dude, we need to go." "Once I set my sights on an opponent," Ace started, "I never back down." "Is he serious?" Nami questioned. "He's worse than Luffy." "Hold it," Sanji said. "Ace is Gold Roger's son, right?" "Yeah, so?" Usopp asked. "Think about it," Sanji said. "The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it?" "Come to think of it," Robin started. Rayleigh used to say that when Roger chooses his opponent, he would never run away. "Wow. Ace really is Roger's son," Chopper gaped in amazement. "What did you say to me, you brat?" Porkami growled. "Ace, don't," Sabo cried. "The guy's on a whole other level, he'll mop the floor with you." "Do you little bastards understand?" Porkami questioned. "This isn't a damn game, you know? You stole our money, so you need to be good little brats and hand it over." "We're making a better use for it," Ace said in defiance. "What did you say?" Porkami yelled. "Damn it." Sabo cursed as he gently put Luffy on the ground. "Hey, wait here, okay?" "Uh-huh," Luffy nodded before the blonde-haired boy ran over to Ace's side. "You're too damn reckless, you know that?" Sabo asked. "Why the hell do you do this, all the time?" "I never back down," Ace answered. "Don't be so damn naive," Porkami barked as he swung his sword. and Ace attempted to block the strike. But the blade actually managed to cut off part of his pipe. Me. Losing to a couple of snot-nosed little kids. I quit being a pirate before then. Then we'll make you quit, Ace and Sabo shouted before they both jumped at Porkamy, who laughed maniacally as he began to attack. Luffy gasped as he watched the scuffle, and the Straw Hats cringed whenever the sight of blood, either from the boys or Porkamy, sprayed into the air. However, as the scuffle went on, Luffy suddenly began to waver before his eyes rolled into the back of his skull and he collapsed, causing the memory to fade to black. What happened? Usopp questioned. It was Luffy, Chopper answered. He lost so much blood, he just couldn't stay awake much longer, so he must have passed out, right then and there. So what happened to him afterwards? Asked Aika, worriedly, but she soon got her answer when the darkness faded away, revealing the forest. Only now, the sky had gone dark, indicating that night had fallen. The only thing breaking the silence was Luffy's loud wails. Wah, he sobbed, his whole body, arms, hands, feet, cheeks, and forehead covered in bandages and tears and snot running down his face. He sounded less like he was scared and more like how he would if he were crying for his mother. Oh, thank goodness, Nami said. He's okay. Phew. Aika sighed in relief. That was close. You know, Ace, Sabo said, that was seriously not cool. You gotta kick this habit of yours. Next time we see those guys, we bolt, got it? It's not worth dying over. Ace just ignored him, trying to repair his broken pipe. Seriously, Sabo said. Blue Jam's gonna be pissed. I just know he and his goons are gonna be after us. That was so scary, Luffy sobbed. I thought I was dead for sure. Wahhh. Poor big brother, Aika said. Are you sure this is the real Luffy? Kumi asked. Because last I checked, hardly anything scares him. Kumi, Blizzard spoke up. Let's not forget, Luffy's only about 7 years old, here. Sure, he may be courageous now, but not everyone starts out that way. I'm sure that when Luffy was a child, a lot of things frightened him. I guess, Kumi said. By now, Ace had gotten fed up with Luffy's crying, so he growled as he jumped down from the tree root he was sitting on. Will you stop that damn crying, already? Ace questioned. God. I hate crybabies and cowards like you, man up, already. Just like that, Luffy clammed up, to Ace and Sabo's surprise, before he bowed his head down. Thank you, he said, before he began sniffling again. RRRGH. Will you stop it? Ace growled in annoyance. Ace, calm down, Sabo exclaimed as he held him back. The little guy's just grateful, it's no big deal. Hey, Ace said, causing Luffy to look at him. Old man Garp tells me you've done some crazy as this. Why didn't you tell them about our stash? Don't you realize they would have killed, even if you were a kid? Because, Luffy began, I was afraid you wouldn't want to be friend anymore if I told them. Oh, Luffy, Nami said, sadly. There you go again with this, friends. Crap, Ace muttered. It's not worth you getting killed. Why the hell do you want to be friends with me so badly, anyway? Ever since we met, day in and day out, I've been giving you hell, and you still insisted on following me all the way out here. I mean, I'd actually be impressed if you weren't so dumb. I put up with all your nonsense for this long, but now I gotta know, why are you so damn desperate to be friends with me? Because, Luffy said, before he raised his head, because I don't know who else to turn to. I can't go back home to Windmill Village, and I hate being around the mountain bandits. So I had to follow you, otherwise I would have been all alone, and sure, getting beat up hurts, but being lonely is a lot worse. Poor kid, Frankie said. When you think about what happened with those kids in the village, Robin began, it makes perfect sense. Luffy was so desperate to have friends, he'd be near just about anyone around his age. Even if those people treat him badly. Big brother's right, though, Aika said, sadly, remembering how she used to be ignored and ostracized by the other kids back in Punk Hazard. Being lonely does hurt more than getting beat up. Ace's expression seemed to soften a bit. Well, where are your mom and dad? He asked. I don't have a dad, Luffy replied, and my mom is. He then sniffled and shook his head, trying to fight off tears. Oh, geez, Sabo muttered, he and Ace now feeling guilty for they treated him, earlier that day. Grandpa's the only family I got, Luffy said, but every time he comes to see me, all he does is beat me up and say that I have to be a Marine, but I don't want to be one. So, you feel better when I'm around? Asked Ace, causing Luffy to nod his head. And you feel even worse when I'm not around, huh? Luffy nodded his head again. Let me ask you something, Ace said. Do you think I deserve to live? Of course I do, Luffy shouted. What? Nami questioned. Of course Big Brother Ace deserves to live, Aika exclaimed. Why in the world would he ever ask something like that? Brook asked. All right, fine, Ace said. I'll stick around with you. But listen up, I hate spoiled little brats like you, got that? Hey, I'm not spoiled, Luffy shouted. I'm strong. PSH, Ace scoffed. Police. You were screaming for your dead mom earlier, you little mama's boy. In fact, all you ever do is cry. I am not a mama's boy, Luffy argued. And how could I not cry? I was punched by spiky gloves. Anyone would cry if it hurt that much. I'm only 7 years old, but I'll get stronger when I'm 10, like you. Don't go comparing yourself to me, Ace barked. I was never a crybaby when I was 7, either, you twerp. I'm gonna be stronger than anyone, Luffy yelled. I'm gonna be a great pirate, like I promised Shanks I would be. You, a pirate? Ace questioned. As if, I'm gonna be one? Luffy shouted as he got up in Ace's face. Are not, Ace spat. Are two, are not, are two. Are not, are two, infinity, dough, Ace grunted in annoyance. Ha ha, I said infinity and you can't top it, Luffy teased in a sing-song voice before sticking his tongue out. Nah 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 nah. Why you little? Ace growled while the Straw Hats chuckled. Looks like they really are turning out to be brothers, Robin smiled. She, Aika giggled. Okay, that's enough, you two, Sabo said as he pushed them away. Geez. Now listen, in case you forgot, we got a bit of a problem here. We do? Luffy asked, and Sabo nodded his head in response. Blue Jam and his buddies are bound to be looking for us after what we did, said Sabo. Like you said, Ace, they won't hold back, even if we are kids. They'll kill all three of us without a second thought. Yeah, probably, Ace said, nonchalantly. This forest that I've been living in is actually really close to their hideout, said Sabo. They're covert pirates. So what if one night, I'm a little too tired and sleep a little too hard? You're dead, Ace answered, bluntly. Yeah, way dead, Luffy affirmed. These two don't really understand the concept of subtlety, huh? Asked Usopp. Apparently not, Frankie replied. Exactly, Sabo spoke. Which is why I need your help. Soon, he, Ace, and Luffy huddled up together, whispering amongst themselves. Whatever it was, Ace and Luffy must have liked it, for the former gave a small grin while Luffy giggled. What are they saying? Kumi asked. Dunno, Chopper answered. The memory shifted, once more, and they were met with the sound of Dayton screaming from inside her house. What in the hell is a third kid doing in here? She questioned. Ace, Sabo, and Luffy stood before Dayton, the third looking like he was still sleeping while standing up while Sabo scratched the back of his head and grinned. So you must be Dayton, Sabo said. I'm Sabo. Ace and Luffy said I could stay here. It's nice meeting you. Sabo? Dayton questioned. I heard about you, so now I got another mouth to feed? Why am I not surprised? Nami asked. I guess it would make sense, said Sanji. This place looks pretty out of the way. Who'd expect pirates to come looking around for kids at a bandit's hideout? Wow, Aika exclaimed. Big brother Sabo's so clever. Despite Dayton's protests, it looked like Sabo was there to stay, to Luffy's glee. The Straw Hats smiled at how delighted he looked, and even Ace seemed rather pleased. In fact, his smile looked rather genuine compared to his surly expression. If the Straw Hats didn't know better, it looked like Ace was opening up a bit. The memory shifted, and it showed Ace, Sabo, and Luffy running out of the house. They were still in bandages, but it looked like it didn't bother them at all. Hey, get back here, you three, Dayton shouted. You got chores to do. But the three boys didn't care. Let's go, you guys, Sabo exclaimed. Luffy, you better keep up, or we're leaving you behind, Ace called. I'm coming, Luffy replied. Usopp couldn't help chuckling at the sight of the three boys, running off into the forest together to get into all sorts of mischief. It reminded him of his childhood days, running through the streets of his village, shouting that pirates were coming over and over, and going off to explore the woods, pretending to be a pirate that was looking for adventure. It was rather heartwarming to see. Soon, the Straw Hats were treated to a montage of memories. There was this one where Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were at the creek, eating a large fish they caught. Luffy wanted to show off a new move that he had invented that would deflect cannonballs. That's when the Straw Hats realized he was talking about the Gum Gum balloon, in which he proceeded to inflate himself. However, he had a bit of trouble holding his breath in. Ace, unable to resist, punted Luffy into the water like a rubber ball, where he bounced along the surface. Not long after, though, a crocodile soon emerged and swallowed him whole, causing the Straw Hats to gasp in horror. "Oh, no," Ika cried. "Relax, I'm sure he's okay," Sanji replied as he grabbed Ika's shoulders. After the memory shifted, it showed Ace, Sabo, and Luffy walking through the forest, carrying the dead crocodile over their heads. Judging by the color of the sky, it looked like they were heading back to Dayton's hideout for dinner. "See?" Sanji asked. "They're okay." "Phew," Ika sighed. "Thank goodness." "You know, it's almost hard to believe these are the two guys that Luffy would look up to," said Nami. "I mean, Ace was kind of a bully and Sabo, though reasonable, wasn't really much better." "Time has a way of changing things," Miss Nami, Brooke pointed out. "That's true," Nami nodded. The following day, lure out on an open field, and it looked like they were trying to have a sparring match. There was even a chalkboard that counted how many wins and losses they had. It was here that attempted to use his signature move, the Gum Gum pistol. But that quickly backfired on him, his fist falling just short before hitting Ace or Sabo before it bounced off the ground, which caused Luffy to punch himself instead. "What the hell?" Ace started, before he kicked Luffy in the face. "Are you doing?" "Gwa!" Luffy cried as he fell to the ground. "What good are rubber powers, anyways?" asked Ace. "That shouldn't have happened," Ika said. "Big brother should have hit Big Brother Ace, right?" "Well, Ika, you don't get the hang of your devil fruit powers right away," Robin said. "Yeah, Luffy was still a kid, back then," Frankie added. "He doesn't really know how to use them much, yet." "Yeah, like me," Zoro added. "You think I got the hang of using 3 swords at his age? Fat chance." "Again, you admit it," Sanji muttered. "That's it," Zoro barked as he jumped at Sanji, and soon, the two started fighting, once again. "Oh, boy," Nami muttered in exasperation. Then, it was Sabo's turn to spar with Luffy, who attempted to use another new move called the Gum Gum Shield, where he stretched his fingers out to block Sabo's attack. But that didn't really work out very well, either, though Sabo seemed more impressed than Ace was when he stretched the fingers back, then let go, causing them to smack Luffy in the face and send him to the ground. "That wouldn't have made a very effective shield, anyways," Nami said. "Yeah, you're right about that," Sanji agreed. "Well, Luffy," Sabo said as he scribbled a number on the chalkboard. "You lost to me and Ace 50 times, each. Ace has 24 wins and I have 26 losses. Damn, looks like Ace beat me again." "I want another go," Luffy barked. "No way," Ace answered. 100 sparring matches a day. You can try again, tomorrow." "Just wait until I'm 10, Luffy rebuked. "Then I'll kick both your asses." "PSH, Ace scoffed. "Sabo and I will be 13 by then, you'll still be 3 years behind us, no matter how old you get to be." Luffy only pouted at this, but then his pout turned into a frown when his stomach began to rumble. "Hungry," he whined. Soon after, Ace's and Sabo's stomachs decided to growl, too, causing them both to blush a bit and the Straw Hats to chuckle. Okay, Ace said. "I guess we did work up an appetite. How about we go scrounge up dinner?" "Sounds good to me," Sabo replied. "Yahoo!" Luffy cheered. "Food for me." A while later, the trio were down by the creek again, watching some crocs bathe in the sun. "Okay, who's up for some croc stew tonight?" asked Ace. "Crocodile meat sure does taste good," Luffy grinned, licking his lips. "Just don't get yourself eaten this time, Luffy," Sabo added. "Last time, you were lucky the croc swallowed you whole, since your body was so big." After Ace kicked him into the water, that is, Usopp pointed out. "Just sit and watch, okay, Luffy?" Ace asked. "You can't swim, so you'll just get in the way." Croc meat, Luffy shouted as he jumped at the large reptiles. What are you doing? Ace questioned as he jumped down. I told you to watch, you moron. Good grief, Sabo mumbled before he followed suit. Oh, boy, Nami muttered. Go get him, big brothers, Ika called to the trio. After a fairly long battle with the Crocs, the three boys emerged triumphant. They seem to be getting along quite well, now, said Brook. Yeah, Chopper smiled. Plus, it looks like Luffy's gained a bit of weight, so that means he must be eating well. Looks like we know where Luffy got his hunting skills from, said Zoro. The memory shifted, once again, showing the Great Terminal, but for some reason, it appeared that Luffy was nowhere to be found. All that was seen was some sort of man wearing a cloak and pulling a small wagon behind him. But for some reason, he seemed to wobble a bit, like he couldn't keep his balance. All I see is some weirdo in a cloak, said Kumi. Where are Ace, Sabo, and Luffy? Blizzard smirked as he watched the hooded figure, who had shoes that looked like they belonged to a particular top hat wearing boy. Without warning, he followed the stranger. Blizzard, Chopper asked. Where are you going? Blizzard glanced back before nodding his head to the cloaked figure, then proceeded to follow him, which prompted the others to follow, as well, entering the city of Goa. Needless to say, this part of the city didn't really look as clean as Nami had described. Geez, this place looks pretty rough, don't you think? Zoro asked. Well, Goa is actually divided into several sections, Nami said. There's the Great Gate, Edgetown, the town center, Hightown, and the Royal Palace. We must be in Edgetown, the roughest part of the kingdom. Hightown is where the nobles live. Basically, this city is divided by class, right? Asked Zoro. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Nami answered. I take it Edgetown is the rougher part of Goa, am I right? Robin queried. Yeah, Nami replied. I think I might like it here, Frankie grinned. Just then, a group of street thugs appeared and surrounded the hooded stranger. Okay, buddy, one of them said. Just drop what's in the wagon and you won't get hurt, not much anyway, hee hee hee. The man didn't answer, to the annoyance of the thugs. Hey, didn't you hear us? Asked one of them. Shut up, you idiots, the man spoke. In a familiar voice, which caused Ika to gasp before a wide smile appeared on her face. I know that voice, she exclaimed. Before the thugs could process what was going, a metal pipe suddenly appeared out of the man's cloak and struck one of them in the side. Doing so caused the cloak to drop, revealing Ace, Sabo, and Luffy, sitting on each other's shoulders, totem style. If you're gonna rob somebody, Ace began, you should pick your victims a little more wisely. It was them all along? Chopper questioned in surprise. Yep, Blizzard grinned. Wow. That's actually really clever, Usopp exclaimed. Oh, crap. One of the thugs cursed. It's those three devil kids. Run for it, another one shouted. Sabo, Luffy, Ace called. Let's go. Right. Sabo and Luffy shouted as they went on the attack. The fight didn't last too long. Even Luffy didn't have that hard a time taking one of the thugs out. The Straw Hats couldn't help being impressed. Once the fight was over, the boys got back in their disguise, with Luffy being on the bottom, this time. They had gone to sell the crocodile skin they had gotten for some money for their pirate funds, although Nami complained that they should have gotten 1,000 berries extra. After that, the Straw Hats found the trio entering another part of the city. And needless to say, they were speechless. The streets practically sparkled in the light of the sun, and the people were all dressed up in fancy outfits. Even the pets were wearing fancy clothes. This must be the high town, Nami said. I figured by looking at all the rich folk, Usopp replied. Even the animals wear fancy stuff, Ika noted. My word, Brook said. The streets here really are clean. Look, Chopper called. There they are. The Straw Hats spotted Ace, Sabo, and Luffy in their disguise. Man, we really got some good money for that croc skin, said Sabo. Now there's even more money we can save for a pirate ship. Man, our luck just gets better and better, Ace grinned. Guys, I'm hungry, Luffy complained. No surprise there, Sanji muttered. Don't sweat it, Ace said to Luffy. I promise, we'll eat some delicious ramen soon enough. What's ramen? Asked Sabo. Is it good? You never had ramen before, Ace asked. Oh, man, it's amazing. Anything is fine by me, Luffy replied. just as long as we get to eat. The trio eventually arrived at a very fancy-looking restaurant. In fact, it looked more like a 5-star hotel than anything else. "Doesn't look too bad," said Sanji. "If only I could taste what they." "Now I'm hungry," Aika said, prompting Sanji to reach into his pocket and hand her a ginger snap cookie. "Here you go, kiddo," he said. "Yay?" Aika cheered as she took it and munched on it. "Thanks, Sanji." "I want a cookie, too," Usopp said. "That was the only cookie I brought," Sanji answered. "Oh, come on, that's not fair," Usopp barked. "Shush," Nami shushed. "Guys, look." The disguised trio walked into the restaurant, where the host greeted them with a bow of his head. "Welcome, sir," he said before he looked up and gasped. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid we don't serve your kind here." "Kind?" Zoro repeated with a glare. "What's that supposed to mean?" "HMPH, Frankie scoffed. "Typical that they don't like to serve someone who looks like something the cat dragged in." "It's places like these that I hate the most," Sanji growled. "I would like a private room, please," said Sabo in a deep voice as he held some sort of golden pendant with a flower emblem on it, causing the host to gasp. "Oh, of course, sir," he exclaimed. "What an honor to have a nobleman in our humble restaurant." "They think they're nobles?" asked Aika. "Why? Must have something to do with that thing that Sabo held out," Usopp answered. "It seems to hold the crest of some noble family," said Brook. "I wonder." Robin muttered. "What is it, Robin?" Zoro asked. "Nothing," Robin answered. "Don't worry about it." A while later, the boys were now in their private room with bowls of ramen set down on the table before them. And before long they dug right in, slurping up noodles quicker than anybody could blink. It was only in a matter of 3 minutes that they had finished the soup off. "I want another," Luffy started before Ace and Sabo covered his mouth. "Watch it, idiot," Ace whispered. "Sorry," Luffy squeaked. "Ahem." Sabo cleared his throat. "Another 3 orders ramen." "Right away, sir," the waitress answered from outside the door. The Straw Hats watched as the boys continued to gulp down bowl after bowl full of ramen. It almost surprised the Straw Hats how much Ace and Sabo were eating, keeping up with Luffy plate for plate. Then again, they were growing boys. At least that's how Chopper saw it anyway. At some point, though, Luffy got a bit careless and stretched his arm to grab another bowl of ramen, which tipped the staff off as to who they were. Once the host was onto them, the boys decided it was time to finish their meal and make a run for it. "Stop, you thieves!" shouted the host. "You didn't pay." Luffy's first dine and dash, Zoro smirked. "Huh? He really was a delinquent back then," Frankie laughed. Even Aika couldn't help laughing. "Aika, that's not funny," Nami scolded. "You're not supposed to leave a restaurant without paying first." "Really?" asked Aika. "You know, we would save a lot more money if we actually did that," Usopp said. "I mean, we are pirates." "Oh, please," Nami sneered. "We're not those kind of pirates. Even I have standards, you know." "Man, that ramen was so good," Sabo exclaimed. "I told you so, didn't I?" asked Ace. Luffy nodded, having stuffed some ramen in his mouth before he ran out. The boys ended up landing on an awning, which they bounced off and landed safely on the ground. Then, the boys began to run, heading back towards the forest, but as they did, they passed by a man who seemed to be dressed just like Sabo. What the man questioned. Sabo, is that you?" Sabo seemed to tense up as he glanced back at the man. "So you're still alive?" the man asked. "Please, you have to come home." "Who's that guy?" Usopp asked. "No clue," Sanji replied. "Although, he looks a bit like." "Hey, Sabo, you know that guy?" Ace asked. "Yeah, who is he?" Luffy asked, too. I've never seen him before," Sabo answered. "He must be mistaking me for someone else, let's go." On that, the boys ran while the man continued to call out to Sabo, who didn't respond. "He was lying, just now," Aika spoke up. "I think Big Brother Sabo does know that man." The memory shifts, once again, and this time, the boys are standing on a cliff that overlooked the sea. "I'm not hiding anything," Sabo shouted to Ace and Luffy, who both confronted him. "Now what's going on?" Nami asked. "Hell if I know," shrugged Usopp. "Really?" asked Luffy. "Of course he's hiding something," Ace said. "All right, Sabo, Spill the beans. You think it's cool for you to keep secrets from your friends like this, huh? I keep telling you, Sabo said as he looked away, although he had a bit of a guilty tone in his voice, it's nothing. Just then, Ace and Luffy grabbed Sabo by the neck, beginning to strangle him. Ah! Sabo gagged. What are you doing? Tell us what you know, right now. Ace barked. Or else I'll beat it out of you. Okay. Let me go, Sabo cried, and Ace and Luffy released him, allowing him to catch his breath before he sighed. Okay, look. I'm the son of a nobleman. A pause. But then, Ace and Luffy shoved their pinkies up their noses. So what? They asked. Oh, come on, Sabo yelled. You're the ones who asked, you jerks. Big brother Sabo is the son of a noble? Asked Aika. That's right, Aika, Robin replied. Poor kid, Sanji muttered. Truth is, said Sabo, both my parents are alive. I was never an orphan to begin with, and the man who called out to me today was my father. Ace gasped silently at this. I lied to you guys, said Sabo, and I'm really sorry. Well, as long as he's sorry, I forgive him, Luffy spoke up. Honestly, Ace began, I'm actually really shocked, Sabo. He then turned to look out to the sea. If you were a noble, how come you lived in the gray terminal instead? I'll tell you why, Sabo replied. I ran away from because. He then began to convey to the two boys about how his parents never appreciated him and always took him for granted, like he was some object or piece of property, rather than a human child. They'd make him study in his room for almost all hours of the day and become a proper nobleman so that he would marry a princess and earn his family a higher status. There was even one point where Sabo had been bullied by another boy of a noble family, and he even pulled a knife on him, but when Sabo told his mother, he was the one who got scolded while she begged for forgiveness from the other family. All they wanted was an heir to protect their money and status, said Sabo. They never wanted me. Sanji scowled at the scene before he looked away, clenching his fists. Robin and Chopper also couldn't help feeling sorry for Sabo, for they also knew the pain of having relatives that didn't show any genuine love to you. Aika was also shocked by this, for while she and her mother were rich, her mother never treated her like some piece of property. However, Nami was practically in tears. What's wrong, big sis Nami? Asked Aika in concern. When I was little, Nami began, I used to complain about how we never had enough money. I wanted to live in a rich house with lots of fancy clothes and I didn't have to steal anything. Sabo. He had the life I always wanted. But it wasn't happy. She then wiped her eyes. I guess. Money can't really buy happiness after all. Aika looked at Nami sadly before she held her hand, causing the navigator to look down at her before she smiled and picked her up. Thank you, Aika, she said as she hugged her, causing Aika to giggle. If I didn't marry some rich girl, Sabo continued, they'd see me as nothing but trash. It was because of that they made me sit with a tutor every day, and my parents would fight all the time because they thought I was never good enough. I was nothing but a giant burden to them. He then chuckled mirthlessly. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? I have my parents, and yet, I still feel alone. Just like you guys. Big brother Sabo. Aika whispered, sadly. The nobles hate the gray terminal, said Sabo, but if you ask me, it's a lot better than being in that suffocating place. Asked Ace. If I were him, Sanji began, I'd leave, too. I actually already did leave, he thought. A pause, but then, Sabo stood up on his feet, facing Ace and Luffy. Ace, Luffy, he said. Let's go out to sea, one day, we'll leave this country together, so that we can live free. I want to see the world and write a book about it, and navigation is actually something I like to study. Let's grow stronger and become pirates, okay? Aika beamed as she began to see the wonder and whimsy in Sabo's eyes. The same kind she would get whenever she talked about being a pirate, like her brothers. Hey, Ace grinned. You don't even have to convince me, one day, I'm gonna be a pirate and win. Win-win. I'll be famous. All over the world. I'll prove the world that I'm not some piece of trash that doesn't belong here. No matter how many people disapprove of me. No matter how many people hate me. I'm gonna become a great pirate, and then I'll show them all. There's no way I'll run away from anyone. Who cares if they call me a bastard? I will spread my name throughout the world. I'm gonna be a pirate, too, Aika exclaimed, to the Straw Hat's surprise. One day, I'll have big adventures and I'll make a name for myself, just like my big brothers do. I'll live as free as I want to live, and Kumi's gonna come with me." "That's right," Kumi declared as she stood at Aika's side. The Straw Hats couldn't help but feel proud of their youngest member's declaration. She. Luffy giggled as he stepped forward. "In that case, I want to be." A wave crashed as Luffy shouted his dream out to the heavens, causing Ace and Sabo to gape in surprise. "Did he really say what I think he just said?" Ace asked. "Ha ha ha ha," Sabo laughed. "You really are funny, Luffy. I can't wait to see what you'll be like in the future." "Well, at least he knows now," Blizzard smiled, although it seemed rather bittersweet. As for the other one, the Straw Hats also frowned, for they also knew what Ace's fate would be. "But this is a bit of a problem, isn't it?" asked Sabo. "I mean, we all want to be captain, right?" "Yeah, that's actually something I didn't expect," Ace replied. "I was hoping you'd be my navigator or something." "Wait, you mean you guys don't want to be on my crew?" asked Sabo. "Hell no," Ace and Sabo said, bluntly, causing Luffy to gasp, but then he crossed his arms and pouted. "Fine," he mumbled while the Straw Hats chuckled. Soon, the memory changed, once more, revealing Ace, Sabo, and Luffy in the forest, standing before a stump, which had 3 sake cups. "We'll decide our future at another time," Ace said as he held a bottle of liquor. "We might all want to go out to sea separately," Sabo pointed out. "Hey, Ace," Luffy exclaimed, "isn't that Dayton's booze? Did you steal that?" Ace only smirked as he popped open the bottle. "Did you know about this?" he asked as he poured the sake into the cups. "If you exchange cups, it makes us brothers." "Brothers?" Luffy asked, excitedly. "Really? Hey, wait a sec," Aika said. "They're using sake. When Big Brother and I did this, we used chocolate milk instead." "That's because if he ever gave you booze, I'd skin him alive," Nami replied. "So don't go getting any ideas, Missy." "Yes, big sis," Aika muttered. "When we become pirates," Ace began, "we might not sail on the same ship together, but the 3 of us will always be brothers. No matter where we are, no matter what we do. This bond will never be broken." He then raised his cup while Luffy and Sabo raised theirs. "From now on, these sake cups are a symbol of our brotherhood." "Cheers!" the trio exclaimed while the Straw Hats smiled warmly at the sight. It was this moment that ignited the fire of their brotherhood. A bond that would never be broken, or would it? To be continued. The Straw Hats smiled fondly at the memory they had just seen. How the 3 brothers came to be. Some of the Straw Hats were actually still in tears, namely Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, Blizzard, Brook, and Aika due to the heartwarming. However, some frowned, knowing the fate of one of them. "God! That was just beautiful," Frankie whispered, wiping his eyes. "So that's how they became brothers," Aika spoke up. "Yeah," Nami said before she looked down, "but it's actually pretty bittersweet when you consider that." "We know, Nami," Robin replied, "but if we're going to save Luffy, we have to see everything." "I know," Nami replied as she looked down, "I know that." Soon, the memory changed to an alleyway, likely somewhere in Edgetown, where a group of thugs had Sabo surrounded. "Sabo," one shouted. "I thought I told you to stay out of our turf." "Your turf?" Sabo smirked. "Hey, I think you idiots need to get your facts straight." Before they could process what he meant, Ace suddenly came swinging from behind, using Luffy's leg as some sort of rope. "Take this," he shouted as he slammed his pipe into the skull of one of the thugs. "Crap, it's an ambush," one cursed as the fight began. Luffy was about to join in the brawl, but when his leg rebounded, the force caused himself to be sent flying. "Whoa," he cried. "Geez," Usopp muttered. "Luffy still hasn't gotten the hang of his powers yet, looks like." "He'll get better," Aika exclaimed, "just watch." While Ace and Sabo were busy, down below, Luffy came crashing back down, hitting the back of a thug's head as he did before he turned to his next opponent, whom he tried to hit with his gum-gum pistol, but he was punched in the face before he could do so. Instead of bouncing off, though, his face ended up sinking inward, instead. "MMMPH. MHMMMPH, Luffy cried, his voice muffled. Suddenly, 2 police officers appeared. "Crap, the cops," Ace cursed. "Let's go, guys." "Right." Sabo answered as he jumped over a wall, followed by Ace, who looked back at Luffy. "Yo, Luffy," he called. "Over here." Hearing his brother's call, Luffy stretched his arm toward the wall, where Ace grabbed his wrist and pulled him forward, which caused Luffy to hit his face against the wall, but the result caused it to return to normal. "I'm back," he exclaimed as he flew over the wall, while Ace smirked and followed after him. "What a bunch of troublemakers," Nami muttered while Robin chuckled. "They looked like they were having fun, though," Robin added. "I'd have fun, too, if I were them," Zoro smirked. The memory shifted again, and this time, it showed the boys arriving at Dayton's house. "We're back," Luffy called. "Don't come back here, you stupid brats," Dayton barked, only to get hit in the face by a dead deer carcass. "That's for dinner," Sabo said as he walked by. "Hurry up and cook it, already," Ace added, rudely. "Dinner time," Luffy cheered while Dayton fell to the floor. A bit later, the meat was set out and the feeding frenzy began, once again. However, unlike the first time, Luffy actually managed to get more than the bandits, this time around. Ace and Sabo were also hogging most of the meat, themselves. Luffy and Sabo actually pushed each other away, fighting over a particularly tender piece, while Ace sent one bandit flying, just for attempting to grab a piece that he wanted. "I see their table manners haven't changed," Sanji muttered in irritation. "You know," Blizzard began, "I almost feel sorry for those bandits, now." "Me, too," Kumi added. "At least Luffy finally got the nutrition he needs," said Chopper. Dayton was trying to keep as calm as possible, but when 2 slabs of meat hit her cheeks, followed by a sake cup hitting her in the face, she had decided that she had enough. "Gah!" she shrieked. "Don't waste food, you idiots." "At least that's one she knows right," Sanji said. But then he gasped when he saw Luffy bite on Dayton's head. "Ah!" Dayton cried as she ran around. "He's gonna eat me." Aika couldn't help laughing at the scene unfolding while the others grimaced. Soon, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were thrown into a different room, without their clothes on. "Ah!" Nami shrieked as she covered Aika's eyes. "Hey!" Aika cried. "Big sis Nami. You shouldn't see something like this," Nami shouted. "Kumi, that goes for you, too," Blizzard added as he covered the pup's eyes, as well. "Oh, come on, I'm naked," Kumi complained. "And don't come out until you dumb asses are clean," Dayton growled before she slammed the door while Ace and Sabo sat in an old oil drum filled with water while Luffy tried to rinse out his hair with a water basin. It was then that the Straw Hats realized that the boys were taking a bath. "They call that a bathtub?" asked Nami. "Even mountain bandits can't afford the luxurious stuff," said Zoro. "True," Nami replied. "Take this," Ace exclaimed as he started to splash Sabo. "Ah, hey, quit it man," Sabo shouted before he began to splash back. "How do you like it?" "Whoa!" Luffy cried as he fell back while trying to pour water over his hair, only for the basin to end up over his head. Nonetheless, the 3 boys laughed as they enjoyed their bath together. After a while, the brothers began to settle down and started to wash off. "That feel good, Luffy?" asked Sabo as he scrubbed Luffy's back. "Ah." Luffy sighed. "Really good. Here comes the water," Ace said as he poured some more water over Luffy, who held his breath and closed his eyes as it rinsed off the suds. "There, how's that?" Luffy responded by shaking his head like a dog, causing water to fly everywhere and forcing Ace and Sabo to shield themselves, the former making an irritated face while the latter laughed, as did the Straw Hats. Once the boys were dry, they grabbed some towels and ran out. Well, most of them were dry, while Luffy's hair was still sopping wet, but he didn't seem to care. He just happily ran out into the living room, which had just been cleaned, with his brothers chasing after him. "Luffy," Ace called. "Get back here so I can dry your hair." But Luffy then grabbed onto a wok, which ended up dispensing dry ashes all over the floor. And that made an even bigger mess than before, which caused Dayton to snap her broom in half. "You know something?" Sanji asked. "I actually feel sorry for Dayton, now." "So do I," Usopp replied. The memory shifted once more, and the brothers were now in their own bedroom, getting ready to have one last spar before bed. "Geez, even now, they still have so much energy," Nami muttered while Aika giggled. "My big brothers are so funny," she said. After all that tussling about, Luffy ended up crashing through the floor and landing on Dayton's stomach, causing her to cry out in shock and pain while the Straw Hats couldn't help laughing. "Oh, my goodness." Robin sighed as she wiped her eyes. "Those three are just too much," Nami added. "Poor Dayton," said Usopp. "She really had her hands full with those three, didn't she?" "We have our hands full with Luffy, even now," Zoro replied. "It's not much different." The memory shifted, once more, revealing it to be morning, and Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were getting ready to go out and start their day. However, as Luffy was about to put on an old shirt, he found that it was a bit tattered and had a rather large tear on the side. "You'd think these bandits would have the decency to get Luffy some new clothes," said Frankie. "Yeah," Chopper added. "He's started to outgrow them, now, plus he has been living in the mountain for a long time. It's no wonder his clothes are getting a bit ragged, now." "Hey, Luffy." Luffy looked up upon hearing Dogra calling him before he got up and looked out the door. "Yeah?" he asked. "Somebody's here to visit you," Dogra called. "She says her name is Makino." Luffy gasped in delight before he eagerly ran down the stairs and headed outside, and sure enough, there was Makino and Mayor Whoop Slap, the latter holding a basket. "Makino!" Luffy exclaimed as he ran into her arms. "Luffy!" Makino grew back. "Ah, how nice," Aika exclaimed. "Miss Makino came to see Big Brother. And it looks like the mayor cares enough to come along, too," Sanji added. "You're so big and strong, now," said Whoop Slap. "It's been 6 months, so we decided to stop by and see how you're doing." "Hey, Mr. Mayor," Luffy greeted. "Don't tell Garp, okay?" Makino whispered with a wink. "It's been 6 months since Luffy's been with the bandits, already?" asked Chopper. "Wow," Kumi said. "He's been staying with them for half a year." "Those 6 months sure made a difference," said Blizzard. "So he's really got you sacked up here with mountain bandits, does he?" asked Whoop Slap, referring to Garp in that sentence. "You got a problem with that?" asked Dayton. "You bet I do," Whoop Slap barked. "Mountain bandits are just as bad as pirates, I'll have you know." "Are the people from Windmill Village as annoying as you are?" Dayton questioned. "I guess after that mess with Higuma, Frankie began. Who could blame him?" "Indeed," Brook concurred. "I brought presents for you," Makino called as she held up the basket, which held some shirts and other clothing. "I didn't think Garp would have the decency to send you some new clothes, so I decided to bring you some." She then showed Luffy a beige shirt with a purple star in front. "Ta-da, what do you think?" "That shirt looks awesome," Luffy exclaimed with starry eyes. "I guess even if Luffy's not in her care, right now," Nami began, "it doesn't stop Makino from fulfilling her promise to Star." Clearly, Robin smiled, warmly. "I also brought some clothes for your friends," Makino said, "though I'd have to adjust the length a bit." That's when she turned to Ace and Sabo, who were peeking from behind the doorway. "Could you two boys come over here, please?" Ace only scoffed while Sabo smiled, a light blush forming on his cheeks as he eagerly approached Makino, who handed him a light purple shirt. "Hey, Sabo," Ace called. "And you, too," Makino said, causing the 10-year-old to suck his teeth before he begrudgingly shoved his hands in his pockets and approached her, his cheeks also dusted a light pink. Hee, Sanji chuckled. "Look at him, trying to keep up appearances." "He's got it bad for her," Frankie added, also grinning. "Your typical boyhood crush." "You mean Big Brother Ace was crushing on Miss Makino?" asked Aika. "That seems about right," Usopp said with a small snicker. "I heard this Ace kid was pretty naughty," Makino said as she fitted Ace with a green t-shirt, "but you're surprisingly well behaved." "Why you don't say," Ace answered, his face still flushed pink before he looked to his snickering brothers. "What a dork," Sabo whispered. "Ace, you're blushing," Luffy said in a teasing manner. "Hey, shut up," Ace barked. "Hold still, please," Makino urged, causing the boy to back down. "You both are gonna get it, later," Ace sneered, causing Sabo and Luffy to break into a guffaw, and the Straw Hats also couldn't help but laugh. "No matter which way you cut it," Zoro began, "Ace is still your typical kid, even when he tries to act like a tough guy." "You got that right," Robin agreed. The memory shifted, showing that it was nighttime and Makino had prepared a huge banquet for the bandits. The Straw Hats couldn't help but feel their mouths water at the delectable-looking dishes. "Eat up, everyone," Makino exclaimed, and soon, everyone began to dig in. "Yummy," Luffy exclaimed as he ate some crispy shrimp tempura. Your cooking is almost as good as Mom's, Makino. Oh, Luffy, Makino smiled. You're still such a sweetheart. Lucky, Aika pouted. I wish I could eat that. You just had a cookie, Kumi retorted. Here you go, squirt, Sanji answered as he gave Aika another cookie, which she happily took a bite out of. Hey, wait a second, Usopp shouted. You said you didn't have any more cookies. Oh, yeah, Sanji muttered. I lied. You jerk, Usopp shouted. Shish, Nami shushed. Guys, watch, man. This stuff is great, Sabo exclaimed as he ate some roast beef. Meals on a pirate ship should always be this good. When I become one, I'll make sure to get the best cook in the world on my crew. I always thought Sabo was the smart one, Sanji smirked. He said best cook, Zoro began, not shitty one. What did you say? Sanji questioned. Hey, Ace chuckled. Fat chance. Once I become a pirate, I'll get the best cook in the world before you do. Yeah, you wish? Luffy piped up. I'm gonna be a pirate before either of you dopes. Without warning, Dayton and the bandits did a shocked spit take, to Luffy and Ace's confusion. But then, the Straw Hats heard a familiar gruff voice clearing his throat, and the boys' expressions paled before they looked over their shoulders, and saw Garp standing behind them. So you two are still spouting that pirate crap? He questioned, causing Ace and Luffy to do a spit take, themselves. I thought I told you boys that you're gonna be strong marine soldiers and like it. Oh, no, not Mr. Garp again, Aika exclaimed before she covered her eyes, knowing what was coming. Sure enough, both Ace and Luffy suffered the wrath of Garp's fist of love. I see he hasn't changed a bit, Nami muttered. I'm surprised that even Ace is afraid of Garp, Usopp exclaimed. Then again, who could blame him? Even I'm scared of him, Blizzard murmured, sweating nervously. Dayton, Garp barked, causing Dayton to stand at attention. Yes, Garp sir she started, only to get bopped on the head by Garp, too. What did you hit me for? Because you're not raising these two right, Garp answered. This coming from the man who left his grandson, with mountain bandits, Nami said. What a hypocrite, Sanji sighed, shaking his head. So that's Garp? Sabo whispered. Never knew Ace and Luffy's grandpa was so cranky. Hey, twerp, Garp said as he looked to Sabo's direction, I heard you spouting that pirate garbage, too. What's happening? Aika asked, her eyes still covered. You don't want to know, said Kumi. Trust me, he's not a twerp, Luffy exclaimed, going to Sabo's defense. He's Sabo, and we shared sake cups together, vowing that we'd all be pirates one day, whether you like it or not. Doesn't he ever shut up? Ace grumbled in pain as he tried to pick himself up off the floor. Is that right? Garp asked as he cracked his knuckles. Well, I'm a marine, so if you boys are gonna act like a bunch of criminals, then I'll tan your hides like a bunch of criminals. Hearing that caused the brothers to gulp, nervously. Oh, dear, Brook muttered with dread. Better start running, Garp shouted, and before long, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were running through the forest for their lives, screaming like mad, while Garp wasn't too far behind them. Oh, no, you don't, Garp shouted before he threw a punch at Luffy, who barely managed to jump over his fist. Take this. Then he tried to punch at Ace, who let out a high-pitched scream as he ducked under the punch, but Garp wasn't done there, for he grabbed Sabo and spun him around in the air. How about one of these? This old man is a monster, Sabo cried. No kidding, Zoro grimaced. Those poor boys, Nami muttered worriedly. He just met Sabo that night, and he's treating him just as brutally as he treats his grandsons, said Frankie. Can I look now? Aika asked. After a while, Garp managed to catch up to the trio and gave them all a good thrashing, leaving them with all sorts of bumps and bruises. Well, that's all for tonight, Garp said as he walked away. Better stay alive, because tomorrow's gonna be even tougher. Yeah, now we definitely know where Luffy got his will to live, Sanji added. Can I look now? Aika asked. No, the older members shouted before the memory shifted, again, revealing the brothers back in the bandit house, watching as a drunken Garp snored on the floor with the other bandits. It was obvious that Makino and Whoop Slap had gone home long before then. Okay, Aika, you can look, Nami to uncover her eyes. If we don't get the heck out of here, Ace whispered to his brother, the old man's probably gonna kill us. And even if we do survive tomorrow, Sabo began. He's not gonna stop pounding on us like that until we've all given up on our dream. But I don't want to die, Luffy cried. Then we only have one choice, Ace said with a grin. It's time for us to grow up. Are you with me? Grow up? Ika asked. What's that mean? Not sure, Usopp answered. I think we're about to find out, Zoro answered as the memory shifted, once again, revealing it to be daytime, and Ace, Sabo, and Luffy were once again out in the forest. Oh, I get it now, Usopp said. They couldn't stand the thought of Garp enforcing his beliefs on them, so they ran away. I don't blame him, Frankie said. If I were them, I'd run away from home, too. Didn't Star say that's what led Dragon to leave home in the first place? Nami asked. From what we know so far, Dragon left before Luffy was born, right? Seems that way, Robin said. Though, I can't help thinking that wasn't the only reason why Dragon left. As the brothers trekked through the forest, it started to rain, causing them to cry out in surprise before they ran to find shelter underneath a giant tree. Luffy giggled as he sat with his brothers, waiting for the rain stop, until they all huddled together and fell asleep, which caused the Straw Hats to smile warmly at the sight. Ah, how sweet, Chopper cooed. This reminds me of all the times I would sleep in Big Brother and Big Sis Nami's bed, Ika said. Sometimes, I couldn't sleep in my own bed because I got scared from nightmares. That's right, Nami said. Luffy would bring you into our room and then get in bed, and he and I would wrap you up in our arms and that always made you feel safe. She, Ika giggled. As the rain broke, the brothers yawned as they got out from under their hiding spot and then looked up at the tree. Sabo began, this place would make a pretty good hideout, don't you think? Now that you mention it, Ace started. This place is pretty out of the way, huh? Plus, it kept us dry from the rain, too. Yeah, a hideout. Luffy piped out. Let's do it. And soon, the brothers got to work. They decided the place to search for materials would be the Great Terminal. There, they found lots of old wood and even an old ship's steering wheel. They even used Luffy's arms as a pulley system to bring up the wood into the tree. Day in and day out, the brothers worked, hammering the wood into the treetop, and after about perhaps a week or so, the result was a large treehouse that the brothers called their own. They even had a pirate flag set up, the insignia being the letters A, S, and L, signifying the trio's first initials, with a pair of crossbones behind them. Not too shabby, Frankie smirked. I'll say, Zoro agreed. It's beautiful, Ika exclaimed. I wish I had a treehouse like that back on my island. Well, before it got destroyed, that is. Looks like something that I would build, back when I was a kid, Usopp added. Children and their whimsy, Brook said with a sigh. How I long for those days of my youth. Don't we all? Sanji asked while Robin chuckled. Soon, Luffy was sitting up in the crow's nest of the treehouse, where he gasped in awe at the sights before him. Whoa, he exclaimed. You can see the Great Terminal, the Windmill Village, and even the whole East Blue. What's the big deal? Asked Sabo. We've seen him all before. Yeah, but it's way different from up here, Luffy exclaimed, which prompted his brothers to join him, and when they did, they gasped upon seeing the beautiful blue sea before them. Even the Straw Hats marveled at the sight. This is nice. Ace whispered as the wind ruffled his hair. You're right, Luffy. She. Luffy laughed. Told ya so. Before too long, the brothers began to fantasize about being pirates out at sea, fighting an enemy ship, which was in reality a pumpkin that they had found. After a tough battle, the brothers emerged victorious. Yeah, we won, cheered Luffy. That'll teach him, Sabo declared. Yeah, way to go, Ika exclaimed, as if she had been dragged into their fantasy as well. Ika, they weren't really fighting somebody, Kumi pointed out. Let her be, Kumi, Blizzard smiled. After all, it's normal for children to go into their little fantasy worlds. Despite all the crazy stuff that happened, said Usopp, you gotta admit, Luffy's childhood was relatively normal. It was, wasn't it? Robin asked. Yo-ho-ho-ho, Brook chortled. Indeed. Soon, the three brothers lied down on the floor, sighing happily. Now this is how you live, Ace said. Uh-huh, Sabo nodded. No kidding. She. Luffy giggled. Man, what an awesome hideout. The Straw Hats all smiled at the brothers who had found their independence. Yet, they also felt a bit apprehensive, too, For they knew that sooner or later, they would be experiencing another tragedy. You know, Usopp began. Crazy as it was. Luffy still had a pretty good childhood, didn't he? Yeah, Nami smiled. He looks so happy. He found 2 brothers who accepted him for who he is. No, he's not so lonesome anymore. Not just that, said Zoro, but they all shared the same dream, to be pirates. I gotta wonder, though, Ika began. Did Big Brother actually want to have Big Brother Ace and Big Brother Sabo as one crew? That would explain their pirate flag, Robin answered. Hey, keep watching, Frankie spoke up as he pointed at the memory, which showed Luffy sitting under some blankets with Sabo, who held a book in his hands and a lit oil lantern. Okay, Luffy, what does this say? Sabo asked as he pointed to a word. Ms. Mischa. Luffy tried to read the word, but he seemed to stutter a bit. I'll help you, Sabo said as he read the word to him, mischievous. Mischievous, Luffy repeated. I did it, ah, that's so nice, Ika exclaimed. Big Brother Sabo is teaching Big Brother how to read. It makes sense, Nami added. Sabo seemed to have a proper education, unlike Ace and Luffy. Sabo was always so thoughtful of Luffy, Robin added. He must take his responsibility as an older brother very seriously. Just like with me, right? Ika asked. That's right, Squirt, Frankie answered as he gently pet Ika on the head. Sure, Luffy may goof around with you, but he can be serious when he has to be. What are you 2 doing? Ace asked as he pulled up the blankets and entered. Don't you know how late it is? Luffy asked me to teach him how to read, Sabo answered. Read, Ace repeated. PSH, please. Why should he need to learn how to read? He's gonna be a pirate. You never know, Ace, Sabo replied. Being a pirate means you might have to be ready for anything. If you say so, Ace shrugged, though I doubt it, highly. Boy, are you gonna be proved wrong, Sanji muttered. Indubitably, Brook agreed with Blizzard nodding his head. The memory shifted and it showed the boys exploring the gray terminal again. There's gotta be some extra wood around here, somewhere, said Ace. We need to repair the roof before the next storm hits. Find anything, yet, Sabo? Nope, Sabo answered. Sabo, Luffy called. Find me a spyglass, okay? A spyglass? Sabo asked. What for? Because it's cool, Luffy answered. That would be his reason for it, Nami said, even though she cracked a smile. He, Sabo chuckled. Sure thing, Luffy, hang on. On that, he went off to find said item. After what seemed like a few minutes, though, he didn't come back. Must be taking a long time to find that spyglass, Frankie commented. Well, it is a giant trash heap, Chopper added. No, Blizzard said. Something's not right here. What do you mean? Kumi asked. Hey, Ace spoke up, causing Luffy to look up at him. Sabo's taking a while to get back, isn't he? Maybe he's taking a leak, Luffy replied. Nah, Ace shook his head. Nobody takes this long to take a leak. Maybe we should go and find him. Luffy nodded his head with a look of seriousness before he and Ace grabbed their pipes and walked off. However, for some reason, they didn't call out for him, and at first, the Straw Hats seemed a bit confused. But then they remembered that the trio was infamous in the Gray Terminal and around Edge Town. If anyone heard them, they'd probably be ambushed. As Ace and Luffy rounded a corner, they suddenly heard a voice. What are you doing here? Ace, Luffy, and the Straw Hats all gasped upon hearing Sabo's voice. Hey! I never thought that the son of a noble would be hiding out around here. Much less be one of those 3 troublemakers, eh, Sabo? H. How do you know that, Blue Jam? Blue Jam, Ace questioned before he broke into a sprint. Come on, Luffy. I'm coming, Luffy answered as he ran after him. Blue Jam, Brook repeated. The pirate that Porkamy bastard was working for, Nami answered, and soon after, they hear the sounds of a scuffle. Now don't hurt him, boys, said Blue Jam from somewhere up ahead. Soon, Ace and Luffy had reached Sabo's location and found their brother, completely surrounded by a group of pirates, one of which had a rather disheveled appearance. His hair was unkempt, his clothes were a bit tattered. Even his teeth didn't align right. So that's Blue Jam, Sanji muttered. Ugly son of a bitch. No kidding, Zoro concurred. Look at his teeth. Ew, Ika grimaced. Luffy, quick, Ace called as he grabbed a barrel. We'll throw this barrel at him, And while they're distracted, we'll rush 'em, got it? Yeah. Luffy nodded. Okay, Ace said as he and Luffy placed the barrel on top of a mound of trash. Now, they pushed the barrel, causing it to roll toward the Blue Jam pirates, who gasped as they saw it rolling towards them. And once they had lowered their guard, Ace and Luffy came leaping out, taking out one of the pirates as they did before they joined Sabo's side. What is this, Sabo? Asked Ace, jokingly with a cocky grin. You started a party and didn't invite us. Sorry, Sabo replied, the same grin on his face. It doesn't matter, Ace said. The important thing is you're okay, right? Yeah, I'm fine, Sabo answered, although he seemed a bit winded. Come on, we can take him, Ace said. With the three of us working together, there's nothing we can't do. That's right, Luffy exclaimed. Yeah, go get him, big brothers, Ica cheered. You damn brats. The pirates cursed as they charged at the brothers. The quickest way to end this, Ace began, is to take out Blue Jam. Yeah. Luffy agreed before they brothers charged forward while the pirates moved to intercept them. Of course, the brothers easily dispatched them with their superior skill. Even Luffy was holding his own surprisingly well, using his pipe to block and deflect strikes before he went in for the attack, himself. Wow! Ica exclaimed. Look at Big Brother go. Even though he hasn't completely mastered his devil fruit powers, Blizzard began. All the training Luffy has been doing with his brothers is paying off. They've all improved, Zoro pointed out. That takes care of them, Sabo exclaimed as the last pirate fell. Now for Blue Jam. Let's go, Ace shouted as the brothers charged. But Blue Jam smirked before he pulled out a pistol from his coat and fired it just 6 inches in front of Ace, causing him to stop in his tracks. Crap! The older D brother cursed as he, Sabo, and Luffy ducked for cover. Wait, why is Luffy hiding? Kumi asked. Yeah, he's made of rubber, Chopper added. Bullets shouldn't hurt him. I don't think he knows that yet, Sanji replied. Come to think of it, I don't think Luffy's ever been shot at before. Hey, I think you're right, Usopp answered. How did Luffy learn that he was bulletproof, anyway? Look, Brook exclaimed as he pointed to the memory. All right, you three snot-nosed runts, said Blue Jam. Just stay right where you are. You think we're afraid of you and your damn gun? Ace questioned, although he was only looking around the corner from his hiding place. However, if he had been paying attention, he would have seen 2 other pirates sneak up on Sabo from behind. Before the blonde-haired boy could put 2 and 2 together, he was grabbed and taken away. Ah! Sabo cried. Hey! Let go! Sabo, Ace cried, only for him to get grabbed, as well, and not long after, Luffy was pinned to the ground. Oh, no, yelled Ica, worriedly. This can't be good, Frankie shouted. Put me down, you bastards, Sabo barked, only to stop struggling when he saw several soldiers approach, all of them wearing uniforms and gas masks while armed with rifles. Who are those guys? Asked Chopper. I don't think I want to know, Usopp answered. Oh, Nami muttered. Don't look now, but look who's with them. The Straw Hats looked and then gaped as they saw that it was Sabo's father. Well, he started, it looks like we got here just in time. Father. Sabo whispered, have a single scratch on him, Master, Blue Jam said to Sabo's father, just like we agreed. I get it now, Robin said. Blue Jam is working for Sabo's father. Of course, Blizzard muttered. Give these kind of pirates a reason to line their pockets, and they'll even roll over for you. What are you doing here? Sabo questioned. It's time for you to stop all this nonsense, Sabo, his father shouted. You're coming home, right now. I'm not going back to that hellhole, Sabo shouted. You can't make me. Yeah, you tell him, Sabo, Luffy cheered. You're not going anywhere, Ace added, which caused Sabo's father to glower at the two with disdain. Ah, I see, now, he said, glancing back and forth between the two. It's all the fault of these boys. They've led my son down a path of evil. What? Ace questioned. That's not true, Ica shouted. That sounds like something Garp would say, Sanji said. No, Nami said. That sounds like a world noble would say. Give Sabo back to us, Luffy shouted. Give him back? Sabo's father repeated. Foolish brat. Sabo is my son. It is the responsibility of every child to live accordingly to the wishes of their parents who gave them life in the first place. He then pointed an accusing finger at Luffy. You have a lot of nerve. Manipulating my son into running away from home. What would I expect from some common rat children? Common rat? Ace questioned. What a horrible man, Brook said with disdain. How could he think that? Nami asked. Because it's just like Sabo said Sanji. His father treats him like property, not like a real son. Kumi only remained silent, although she had this look of unease on her face. What's wrong, Kumi? Aika asked. Nothing, Kumi answered. Perhaps you brats are merely after my fortune, Sabo's father surmised. That's a load of bullsh. Ace started, only to get his face slammed into the ground and his blood to spurt out, some of it landing on Sabo's father's cheek. Ah! He cried as he pulled out a handkerchief. Watch how you handle these children, pirate. He then wiped the blood off. You got that inferior filth's blood on me. Zoro growled, wanting to slice the man in half, but he forced himself to keep calm. After all, this was a memory, and they were only here to watch, no matter how much they hated it. I wasn't manipulated, Sabo shouted. I left of my own free will. Silence, Sabo's father ordered before he gestured to the soldiers, who went to take the blonde-haired boy while the nobleman turned to Blue Jam and his crew. Now then. I trust you pirates will handle those other boys? He. Blue Jam chuckled. Of course, master. We already received our payment. We'll deal with these boys so they never come anywhere near your son again. Wait, what? Aika stammered. Did he really just order them to kill Ace and Luffy? Nami asked. What kind of man is he? Chopper asked, worriedly. He's a monster, that's what he is, Sanji answered. As I said, Brook began, he is truly horrid. I can't believe that Guy and Sabo are father and son, Usopp commented in disbelief. Wait, Blue Jam, Sabo shouted before he turned to look at his father. I understand now, father. Oh, Sabo's father asked, although he had this grin on his face. That grin that a person would wear when they had a cube checkmate. And what is it that you understand? Sabo bit his lip and looked as if he was on the verge of tears, while the Straw Hats looked at him sadly, knowing the expression of defeat on his face. No, Sabo, Ace shouted. Don't do it, I'll do whatever you want, Sabo answered. I'll live my life the way you want me to live it and not complain. But only if you promise not to hurt these two. That's all I ask. Those two are my irreplaceable brothers. Sabo. Ace gasped. Big brother Sabo. Aika whispered with tears in her eyes while the rest of the Straw Hats lowered their heads, knowing that Sabo had to have been feeling a lot of things. Pain, sadness, and regret. Even Robin couldn't hold back her tears, knowing the feeling of sacrifice, all too well. In that case, Sabo's father began, you're coming home, now, no more of this, plain pirate, garbage. Sabo just silently began to follow his father, as did the soldiers, while Ace and Luffy watched. Sabo, no, Ace called out. Come back, shut up, shouted one of Blue Jam's men as he slammed Ace into the ground again, but the 10-year-old remained defiant. Don't go with them, Sabo, cried Ace. Just run away, Luffy and I will be fine. We were gonna go to our freedom together, remember? Sabo, don't go, Luffy begged, tearfully. Are you really gonna let it end this way? Ace questioned, trying to hide his sadness with anger. Sabo. Sabo kept walking. But the Straw Hats could see the tears of regret in his eyes. Soon, the memory faded, once again. Big brother Sabo. Aika whimpered as her tears fell. How could that happen? Why did his daddy take him away? Some people think they're entitled, Robin answered. They think they own everything, even their own children. Besides, Sabo had no choice, Zoro said. If he went against his father's wishes, Ace and Luffy would be killed. He really is their brother, in this regard. He was willing to give up anything, even his happiness, for their sake. But it's so unfair, Kumi spoke up. You think that matters to people like the nobles, Kumi? Blizzard asked. You've seen it yourself. People like them don't care about people that they think are beneath them. Kumi bit her lip as images of a certain stringman appeared in her mind. Thank goodness, though, Robin began, that Sabo didn't grow up to be like his father. Dragon was right in making him his second in command. But all this has got me wondering, Frankie began. What the hell happened after he left? I think we're about to find out, Sanji answered as a new memory appeared. Ace and Luffy were sitting on the ground, tied in a shack that looked like the one Porkami used to torture the latter in. Around them were Blue Jam's crew, while Blue Jam sat in front of them. "Untie us, you jerks," Luffy shouted. "Why did you bring us here, Blue Jam?" Ace questioned. "Those nobles," Blue Jam spoke as he leaned back in a chair. "They sure got it made, don't they?" He then looked to the brothers and smirked. "Don't you think so, too?" Ace and Luffy only sneered at him. "They look down on the likes of us," Blue Jam continued, "think that we're nothing but trash while they live their happy, carefree lives in the high town. Don't you think that that boy is better off living as a noble?" "What the hell are you gabbing about?" Ace questioned. "Yeah, pirates are way better than nobles," Luffy added. "Sabo says so." "Hey," Blue Jam smirked. "I feel sorry for you too. Untie them." The pirates proceeded to untie the boys, who stood up while clutching their pipes. "A boy who lived in Hightown came all the way down here to Trash Mountain to cause a ruckus," Blue Jam said. "Now why he do something like that?" He then looked at Ace and Luffy. "I bet deep down, he probably hated you guys, too." "Stop talking about Sabo like you know him," Ace shouted. "Yeah, he's our brother," Luffy added. "Yeah, don't talk about him like that," Ika yelled. "Ha ha ha ha," Blue Jam laughed. "Well, sorry to burst your bubble. But you're never gonna see your brother again. If you two are planning to go and get him back, I'll have to kill you both. If you really care about him, just let him be." "This guy's makes me sick," Blizzard hissed. "You know, it just hit me," Usopp said. Blue Jam was talking about the nobles with envy. Like he wanted to be one. "I could see it, too," Ika said. "Whenever he spoke about the nobles, he'd have this look on his face." "But why would a pirate like him want to be a noble?" asked Sanji. "I think it's because Blue Jam's not like most pirates," Nami answered. "He spends most of his time on land, almost like a bandit." But Sabo Hatefee yelled. "Forget about him," Blue Jam told him. "Trust me, he's better off. You'll understand when you're a grown-up." A beat passed. "Actually, there's still a matter to be settled between us. That incident with Porkami. But I don't really care that moron anymore. What I'm saying is I like strong people like you, regardless of how old they are. I'm pretty short on men, right now. And I got a job for you guys. Wanna help me?" "What kind of job?" Ace asked, suspiciously. "Here," Blue Jam put down a map, dotted with X marks. "This is map of the Grade Terminal in Trash Mountain. I just need you to deliver some goods for me. Just take them to all the spots marked with an X, got it?" "I don't think I like the sound of this," said Nami. "Neither do I," Ika added. "How much are you willing to pay us?" asked Ace, causing Blue Jam to smirk before the memory faded again. "Is Ace really gonna trust someone like him?" asked Usopp. "Look at him, he's got 'shady' written all over him. Why would Ace want to work for someone like him, anyway?" Chopper asked. "Or for that matter, why hire Ace and Luffy at all? Why not somebody else?" "It doesn't make sense, really," Robin answered, but before they could talk about it more, the memory shifted, and the Straw Hats saw Ace and Luffy with the pirates, carrying crates with red flags on them. "Ace," Luffy said while holding crate in his arms and another crate on his head. "I don't like it when Sabo's not around." "I don't like it, either," Ace replied, "but we gotta be patient. I miss him, too, but honestly, I don't know which of these will make him happier." Luffy only pouted at this. "Those poor boys," Nami said. "They seem so lost without Sabo." "What did you expect?" Sanji asked. "They were a trio. Seeing them apart like this is hard for anyone who's known them for so long." "Look," Ace said. "Let's just see how things work out, okay, Lou? Sabo's strong, you know. If he really hates it up there in Hightown, he'll come back to us on his own. I'm sure of it." Hearing that seemed to cheer Luffy up, but not by much. "Fire Fist does have a good point," said Blizzard. "Although, I still can't help thinking something might be wrong. I keep having that feeling in my gut." The memory changed, once more, revealing Ace and Luffy in the treehouse. All that could be heard was the sound of the broken clock ticking while the brothers' sake cups hung underneath it. Meanwhile, Luffy and Ace were lying on their futons, both looking rather dirty from the day's work. "I wonder if Sabo's okay," Luffy spoke, wide awake. "Shut up and go to sleep, already," Ace said, harshly. "We said we'd forget about Sabo for now. He's probably better off, anyways." Anyway, we got more work to do tomorrow, so get some sleep. Ace is in denial, Zoro said. What makes you say that? Asked Aika. It's clear he misses Sabo, too, Zoro answered. He just didn't know what to do about him because Blue Jam's words confused him. There's one thing I don't understand, Kumi said. Luffy told us that Sabo died a long time ago. But then he showed up at Dressrosa. Why would Luffy think Sabo died after what happened the other day? Before Chopper or Blizzard could answer, the memory shifted again, revealing Ace and Luffy in the Grey Terminal, once again, but they seemed to be standing at a shoreline, where a pirate ship waited. It looked rather rundown and moss-ridden, though. Is that Blue Jam's ship? Frankie asked. She looks pretty rundown, huh? Judging by the growth of moss and the slight woodrow, Nami said, I'd say they've been docked here for about 2 years or so. So I was right, Robin said. Blue Jam left the sea a long time. HMPH, Blizzard scoffed. He calls himself a pirate, but he doesn't even try to go back to sea again. What a sellout. What do you mean, burn down Grey Terminal? Ace suddenly yelled, causing the Straw Hats to turn and see him and Luffy confronting Blue Jam. Why the hell would you do something so heinous? Shut up, you idiot, Blue Jam said. The people of the Trash Mountain will hear you. I knew he was a bad guy, Luffy shouted. Ace, quick, we gotta tell everybody. I told you to keep it down, Blue Jam said before he looked at 2 of his men, hold them down. Soon, 2 pirates grabbed the struggling brothers. Look, this wasn't my idea, Blue Jam said. The oil and explosives you planted around the other day are gonna be used to make a fire that will kill everyone in Trash Mountain. They're gonna what? Aika questioned. What the hell are they thinking? Zoro asked. What kind of depraved person would do something like that? Usopp shouted. I guess you 2 are just children, after all, Blue Jam said, to get so upset like this. He then approached the 2 boys. But now that you know about our plan, I can't let you get away. Ace glared up at Blue Jam while Luffy made a nervous noise. There's one thing I've been meaning to ask you before I start the fire, said Blue Jam. Isn't there a stash of treasure you kids are hoarding? Ace and Luffy both gasped at this. HHH, how did you know that? Asked Luffy. Luffy, Ace shouted. Oops, Luffy squeaked. That answers that question, Blue Jam smirked. So, where is it? The brothers didn't answer, glaring up at him in defiance. HMPH, Blue Jam scoffed. Fine then. Be that way. Men, take them to the shack and tie them up. They can burn with the rest of the trash. Oh, no. Aika whispered. That creep, Frankie growled. Who the hell does he think he is? He's mad, that's what he is, Robin answered. Someone who would burn innocent people alive is nothing but S. You took the words right out of my mouth, Nami added. The memory shifted once again. But all the Straw Hats could see were huge, red flames, hungrily burning up anything they could touch. And Ace and Luffy were tied up to the support beam of Blue Jam's shack, the latter crying in fear. Oh, no, Aika cried in horror, they're trapped. And there's fire everywhere, Chopper added. How are they gonna get out of that? Ace grunted as he cut through the ropes with a glass shard. Okay, we're free, he exclaimed. Ah, Luffy cried as he began to pound his fists on the ground. Ace, it's so hot, we can't get out of here. Shit, Ace cursed. I never meant to get caught up in this mess. WAAAAH, Luffy whined. It's too hot. Stop complaining or I'll leave you behind, Ace barked. I mean, it's not hot, Luffy exclaimed. That's not nice, Aika shouted. They could die in there, why would Big Brother Ace say that? Ace doesn't intend to actually leave Luffy behind, Zoro said. He's saying it can get a move on. If Luffy spends all that time whining, how are they gonna get out of there? As harsh as that sounds, he's right, Frankie added. He still could have put it another way, Aika muttered. It doesn't matter, Aika, Blizzard said. It's in the past, now. Come on, Luffy, Ace called. We're getting out of here. Luffy looked at his older brother, worriedly. It'll be okay, Ace reassured. I promise, I'll keep you safe. Luffy's eyes went wide. Because for once, these words did not come out as blunt or harsh, they actually showed genuine care. Oh okay, Luffy nodded, and with that, the brothers rushed out of the burning shack, trying to shield themselves from the flames. All around them, there was fire and smoke, and the sky was red. It was almost as if the Straw Hats were seeing hell itself. Robin had Aika hide her face in her chest to keep her from getting traumatized any further. Eventually, Ace and Sabo had to stop, and they both panted heavily as smoke and hot air filled their lungs. "I hope the people from the Trash Mountain are okay," Luffy spoke up. "We should be worrying about ourselves right now," Ace replied. Even as his own life is in danger, Brook began, "Mr. Luffy still continues to worry about others." "He's always been that way," Nami said. "Damn it," Ace said before he began to cough. "Where the hell are we? Anyways?" "In smoke. I can't tell which way we can go to get out of here." Soon he and Luffy began coughing again. "This isn't good," said Chopper. "They're starting to suffer from smoke asphyxiation. If they stay there much longer." "Who the hell said you could escape from US, you brats?" The brothers turned to see Blue Jam and his crew. But for some reason, they looked crazed. Almost demonic with sadistic expressions on their faces. "Blue Jam?" Luffy questioned. "You're the one that started this damn fire," Ace shouted. "Why the hell are you still here?" "That is strange," Blizzard spoke up. "How come he's still there, anyway?" "Shut up, you brat," Blue Jam barked. "There's no hope for us, now. This wasn't how it was supposed to turn out. Human beings sure are strange creatures. When we're thrown into the deepest pits of misfortune, we start to laugh." That look in their eyes, Sanji began, "I've seen it before. They've gone off the deep end." "What does that mean?" Aika asked. "They've gone mad, that's what," Robin answered. "Luffy, let's get out of here," Ace called, sensing Blue Jam's unhinged behavior. But before he and Luffy could get too far, two other pirates intercepted them. "Come on, now," said Blue Jam. "Since we did this job together, we might as well die together, too." "Yep," Usopp said. "He's gone cuckoo. No way are we dying here with you," Ace shouted. "You're far too cold, Ace," Blue Jam said. "You know, you still haven't told me where your treasure is hidden. We'll take it before it's lost in the fire. Now come on, tell me where it is." "You guys are all about to die," Ace began, "and all you can think about is treasure?" "Sheesh," Usopp muttered, "and I thought Nami was greedy." "Excuse me?" Nami glared. It's a compliment, of course," Usopp replied, chuckling nervously. "Well?" Blue Jam asked. "Are you gonna tell me or not? If you aren't going to salvage it, I may as well." Ace paused, and the Straw Hats stared, anticipating his answer. "You're full of it," Luffy shouted. "Ace and Sabo worked hard to get all that treasure." "Shut up, Luffy," Ace barked, causing the boy to look at him in surprise before he looked to Blue Jam. "Fine. You win. I'll tell you where our treasure is." "Huh?" Luffy muttered. "Beat it, Ace, you and Sabo worked so hard too." "Sabo would understand," Ace retorted. "Right now, our lives are more important than treasure. Do you understand, Luffy?" Luffy's eye went wide in realization before he nodded his head. "Yeah, I get it," he said. "Good," Ace replied before he looked to Blue Jam. "The treasure is hidden in a tree at the other side of the Grey Terminal. There's at least 50,000 berries in there. Take it, it's all yours." "Yeah, we can always get more treasure, anyway," Luffy added. We can, right, Ace?" Ace smiled and nodded his head. "Of course we can." "Good boys," Blue Jam praised, mockingly. "When it comes down to it, children really do know their place, but just in case." Suddenly, two of his men grabbed the boys, to theirs and the Straw Hats' shock. Hey, what is this?" Ace questioned. "What the hell are you doing, you bastard? I told you where we hid the treasure, let us go." "There's every chance that you're lying," said Blue Jam. "You boys are coming with us." "Of course they wouldn't make it that easy," Frankie exclaimed. "This can't be good. They're gonna skin him alive," Kumi cried. "What a load of crap," Ace yelled. "You're gonna get us all killed. Just go get it by yourself, you son of a bitch." "Don't push me, brat," Blue Jam shouted as he pulled his gun out at Ace, who gasped. "I swore to myself that I'd use your treasure to make a comeback and exact revenge on those damned nobles. They think that they're better than everyone. Even that damned brother of yours. To them, we're nothing but trash." "Oh, boy," Zoro said. "I know what happened. Blue Jam got screwed by the nobles. They made him some false promise and now they don't need him anymore, so they're getting rid of him along with the rest of the trash." I almost feel bad for him, now, Ika said, almost. Sabo's not like them. Luffy denied. Face the facts, you dumb ass, Bluejam barked. That boy is one of them. He was only hanging out with you two because it made him feel superior. His parents are rich beyond imagining, and he was only with you two out of some cheap thrill. You call that noble kid your brother? He's probably laughing at you little turds, right now. Shut up, Ace barked. Don't talk about our brother that way. Yeah, Luffy shouted. Sabo just wants to be free, on that. He bit the arm of the pirate who was holding him, causing him to cry out in pain as he dropped the boy. Why you little? The pirate growled as Luffy drew his pipe, but then, slash, the pirate cut through the pipe with his saber, causing it to break in half. And Luffy felt his confidence dwindle. Luffy! Run for it, Ace cried, but the boy was frozen with fear as the pirate raised his sword. Hey Ace, help me! Luffy cried. Only for the sword's blade to hit him right in the face, and blood soon sprayed from the wound while Luffy screamed in pain. Luffy, Ace screamed. Oh, no, Chopper shrieked. He's gonna get skewered, Usopp yelled. I can't look, Nami said as she covered her eyes. I'll kill you, you damn brat. The pirate cursed as he held the tip of his sword over Luffy's heart, preparing to stab him right through. But as he did, Ace seethed with fury, his eyes seeming to flash red and his teeth gritted before he took in a deep breath. Leave my little brother alone, he roared. And soon after, a powerful shockwave burst forth from his very being. Soon after, the pirates collapsed, even the one that was holding Ace, while Bluejam and the Straw Hats gaped in awe. That was, Frankie stammered. Conqueror's Haki, Brook finished. Even at 10 years old, Sanji whispered, the kid's a freaking beast. So cool, Ika said. He's Gold Roger's son, all right, Blizzard added. Bluejam growled before he stamped his foot against Ace's chest, causing him to cough up blood. What the hell did you do, you little bastard? He questioned while Ace struggled to push him off. Ace! Luffy cried. Bluejam took off the safety from his pistol before aiming it right at Ace's face, who glared at him in defiance. Big brother Ace, Ika shouted. Stop right there, you bald-headed son of a bitch, let go of Ace. Out of nowhere, Bluejam raised his sword, blocking an axe that was being wielded by none other than Dayton. Miss Dayton, Ika beamed. Thank goodness, Brook exclaimed. Dayton? Luffy asked in surprise as he noticed her, as well as the rest of the Dayton family. What are you doing here? Luffy, Dogger said as he gently picked the boy up. Man, you look terrible. Wait. Where's Sabo? Sabo's not here, Luffy answered, but he's okay. Wow, Chopper whispered. Do you see that? Just a few months ago, they couldn't stand Luffy. And now, they're treating him and Ace like they were always one of them, Nami smiled. It just goes to show you just how much stronger their bond has grown. If I didn't know better, I'd say Dayton developed a real maternal instinct with Ace, Sabo, and Luffy around. Indeed, Robin concurred. You're that boss monkey from Mount Kolbo, Bluejam realized. That's right, Dayton answered. I'm Dayton, the bandit, and for some blasted reason, I was forced to raise these two little monsters. And now that we've saved him, she turned and bolted. Let's scram, boys. Yes, boss. The bandits shouted, one of them carrying Luffy over his shoulder while the Straw Hat's sweat dropped. Really? Nami asked, dryly. Ace, let's go, Magra called. But Ace only glared up at Bluejam, holding his pipe. No, Ace hissed. No matter what, I'll never run. Upon hearing that, Dayton stopped in her tracks. Ace, are you insane? Dogra asked. We all know how dangerous Bluejam is. You're just a 10-year-old kid. You got no chance against a pirate at it? I wanna fight, too, Luffy cried as he struggled to get out of the grip who was carrying him. Oh, no, not you, too, the bandit shouted. Never fails, Blizzard said as he remembered when Luffy was bitten by Hody back on Fishman Island. Even when he's injured, Luffy refuses to run away from a fight. Take Luffy and go on without us, Dayton called to her bandits. What? One of them asked. But boss, just leave it to me, Dayton answered. I'll see to it that Ace comes back with me. A pause. But then the Dayton family nodded before they took Luffy and literally ran for the hills. Hurry up, Dogra shouted. Move your asses, boss. Magra called back. Please make it back alive, you, too, Ace. No, wait. Luffy cried as Ace and Dayton got farther and farther away, until they disappeared beyond the flames. By the time bandits had reached the forest, they watched as the fire grew bigger and bigger. The bandits waited all night for Dayton and Ace to emerge, but they did not. All they and Luffy could only do was cry as the fire continued to rage on, and the Straw Hats gaped in horror at the holocaust of the Great Terminal. The Straw Hats all stood in the void, gaping at what they had just witnessed. The fire, Luffy getting sliced in the head, Ace's conqueror's haki, Dayton and the rest of the bandits coming to the rescue, and the Great Terminal continuing to burn away. Okay, Sanji said. No kid should ever have gone through something so horrific. You're telling me, Frankie added. That was just, Brooke started. I can't even describe it. Big Brother Ace, and Miss Dayton, Aika whispered, were they? We know that Ace must have survived, Nami answered, but as for Dayton, we don't know. Poor Luffy, Chopper said, sadly, he was taken away while all that happened. All he could do was call out for Ace and Dayton, Usopp said. He must have felt so helpless. How did Luffy ever keep himself sane through all that? Kumi asked. If it were me. We know, Kumi, Blizzard said. I often wonder that, myself. Zoro, meanwhile, remained silent, and yet, even he was unnerved by all of this. He had never once thought his captain had gone through such trauma. To him, Luffy was always just this idiotic goofball that always had a smile on his face. But now, he realized that smile just hid a deeply traumatized little boy. Guys, Robin spoke up, causing everyone to look at her. The memory is changing. Everyone looked up and saw Luffy, lying in a futon, the right side of his face and his torso in bandages while Dogra, Magra, and the other bandits tended to him. The boy was lying down, shuddering from the pain of his injuries. But the Straw Hats could also see the look of helplessness on his face. Now, Luffy, Magra said. You need to rest. Your wounds were really deep, you know. I don't care, Luffy replied. I gotta find Ace and Dayton. Even now, he still isn't thinking about himself, Blizzard said. Even back when he was a kid, he's still so admirable. Luffy, we're worried, too, Dayton began. But we can't go back to the Great Terminal. The soldiers are still going around, cleaning up after the fire. And by that, I mean sweeping up the garbage and shooting any survivors they find. If you go out there, now, you'll be killed. What? Nami questioned. Killing survivors. Sounds like the military is just as corrupt as the nobles, Sanji sneered. But why would they ever do something like that? Aika asked. It's so cruel. You know, when I think about it, Nami said. Once, I saw a celestial dragon ship sail by my home island, headed for Dawn Island. I didn't think much of it, though. Of course, Zoro said. Now it makes sense. What do you mean? Usopp asked. The nobles of the Goa kingdom heard about the celestial dragons coming to visit the kingdom. Zoro began, so they wanted their little city to look as clean as possible for them. That meant getting rid of any kind of trash, including the people of the Trash Mountain. My God. Usopp whispered. Do the world nobles have that big an influence? Apparently, they do, Sanji answered. But, Luffy stammered. I want to see Ace, Sabo's gotta be worried about him. On that, he began to cry. Big brother. Aika whimpered. Oh, Luffy, Nami sniffled. I wish I could hug him. I know, Nami, Robin said as she put her hand on Robin's shoulder, but remember. I know, Nami replied. It's just a memory. There's nothing we can do about it. Robin then reached up and wiped the navigator's tears away. Thank you, Robin, Nami said. Of course, Robin smiled. Hey, guys, look. Chopper called as the memory shifted once again, where they found Luffy sitting in the corner, sulking. It must have been some time since the fire at the Great Terminal, because it looked like most of his injuries had healed by now. The bandits appeared to be just as depressed as he was, for they were lying around, moping as well. That's it, Luffy exclaimed as he got up. It's been days, now. I'm looking for Ace and Dayton myself. Now, hold on, Luffy, said one of the bandits. Look, I know it's really hard for you to wait, right now, but I think it's time for us to face the facts. There's a good chance that Ace and the boss might be Don't you dare say that they're dead, Luffy shouted, taking the bandits and the Straw Hats back by his outburst. They can't be dead. They just can't be, okay? Luffy. Usopp whispered, worriedly. It makes sense, Frankie said. Sabo's already been taken away, so he doesn't want to lose another brother. Easy there, Luffy, Mogra exclaimed. Let's not jump to conclusions, there's still a chance that they survived. We already sent Dogra to Trash Mountain to find them. Just leave it to him. Luffy only glared up at him, although it looked like he was trying very hard to hold back tears. Believe me, Luffy, we're worried, too, Mogra said, but we just have to be patient, understand? Okay, Luffy muttered as he looked down to the floor. Poor big brother, Ica said. I can't imagine how worried he must be. If it were you, you'd probably do the same thing, wouldn't you, Ica? Blizzard asked. Well, yeah, Ica said. If big brother were lost, I'd want to go out and look for him, too. Hey, everyone! A bandit suddenly came rushing in, excitedly. Ace and the boss, they're back. Luffy and the rest of the bandits gasped before they all hurried outside. The rubber boy did trip on the floor as he ran, but he managed to get to his feet before he joined the rest of the Dayton family. However, once they got outside, they soon saw the state that Ace and Dayton were in. Ace's clothes were in shreds and he had several burns on him. But Dayton, whom Ace was carrying piggyback style, looked like she had burned even worse, and she was covered in bandages. Geez, Sanji exclaimed. Those two sure were put through the ringer, huh? They must have been trying to fight their way out of the fire, Brook added. I'm just glad they made it out of there, Chopper spoke up. Soon, the Dayton family began to help Ace and their leader inside, tending to their injuries. As Ace began to change out of his ruined shirt, Luffy suddenly grabbed him in a hug from behind, taking him by surprise. Ace, he sobbed. I missed you so much. What are you doing, Luffy? Ace questioned. Did you think I was dead or something? Well, maybe, but, Luffy whimpered. What the hell are you crying for? Ace asked as he punched the boy on the head, causing him to cry out in pain as a bump formed on his crown. Ow! Luffy yelled. How dare you kill me off like that, you moron, Ace barked. What did he hit him for? Ica questioned. Yeah, Kumi added. Luffy was just worried about him. Ace isn't used to others be concerned for him, that's why, Blizzard answered. Now calm down, Ace, Mogra said. Luffy was just really happy to see you, that's all, you should be happy, too. Ace only rolled his eye, but then he looked down at Luffy, who blinked up at him and sniffled, which caused him to sigh before he gave him a small smile. Ah, who am I kiddin'? He asked as he ruffled Luffy's hair a bit. I just can't stay mad at you, you little knucklehead. She, Luffy giggled. Now why don't you go out and play? Asked Ace. I gotta talk to the others, alright? Okay. Luffy chirped as he ran outside. Stay close, got that? Ace called. If you get lost, I'm not coming to look for you. I will. Luffy answered as he went outside, where he began to explore the yard. By now, the sun was going down, so it was quite dark, but he didn't care. He gasped in delight as he found two large beetles. A Hercules beetle and a Miyama stag beetle. Cool, the boy exclaimed with starry eyes, which made the Straw Hats chuckle. He's so cute, Nami whispered. I know, Ica exclaimed. Look at how happy he looks. He acts like the fire never happened, Usopp added as he watched Luffy put the beetles on a barrel, where they began to wrestle. Okay then, Luffy said. Who's gonna win it? Just then, he heard footsteps approach, causing him to turn for some reason. He looked rather pale. What's up with him? Sanji asked. He looked like he saw a ghost. Oh, hey, Dogra, Luffy greeted. Weren't you out looking Ace and Dayton? They came back hours ago. Is that right? Dogra stammered as he seemed to force a smile. That's great, then. He saw something while he was out looking, said Zoro, narrowing his eye as Luffy grabbed Dogra by the wrist and led him inside. However, once he got in the house, the Dayton family immediately sensed his anxiety. What's wrong, Dogra? Asked Mogra. Dogra didn't answer. He just sat there on the floor, shaking like a leaf. Hey, what's going on? Asked Dayton. Spill it, already. There's no other way to say this, Dogra whispered. Will you just spit it out? Ace asked, impatiently. Yeah, what's the matter, Dogra? asked Luffy. Sabo. Dogra answered, which immediately got everyone's attention, including Ace and Luffy's. Sabo was what? Ace questioned. What happened to him? Sabo was shot down at sea. Dogra shouted, he's dead. All the color on everyone's faces immediately left them, including the Straw Hats. Ace and Luffy's mouths gaped in horror while Dayton gasped, her cigarette falling out of her mouth. No. Luffy whispered. Liar. Ace growled before he rushed at Dogra and pinned him to the floor. You lying bastard. If this is your idea of a sick joke, it's not funny. It doesn't look like he's joking to me, Frankie answered. Shot down. At sea. Aika whispered. Now, Aika calm down, Blizzard assured. We all know Sabo's alive. You saw him in Dressrosa, remember? But, Aika whimpered with tearful eyes. I'm sorry, Ace, Dogra began, but it's the truth. It was so sudden, I didn't even want to believe my own eyes. I thought I was dreaming. He sailed right in front of the ship of those nobles who were visiting Goa Kingdom, and they shot him down. The celestial dragons, Dayton whispered. Of course. They were coming to visit the kingdom today. The Straw Hats gaped at this. So it was the world nobles who shot down Sabo? Sanji asked. Those sick bastards. From what Sabo told me, they thought that he was at fault because he sailed in front of them, Robin replied. To them, that was reason enough to shoot him down. Thankfully, Dragon saved him from drowning at the last second. Yeah, but at the time, Ace and Luffy didn't know it, Nami said. So that's why they thought he was dead until that day they met again in Dressrosa. It took only 2 shots, Dogra began, and Sabo's boat was completely destroyed. All that was left was his hat, and that was picked up by the officials. How can that be? Ace questioned. Sabo went home to his parents. Why the hell would he ever go out to sea? Yeah, it doesn't make sense, Luffy answered. He went home, why would he leave? Even outlaws and hoodlums like us must have understood how the boy must have felt. Dogra cried as he pushed Ace off of him. We all have places we don't even want to go back to. He then raised his head, revealing tears spilling from his eyes. If Sabo were truly happy, do you honestly believe he would have raised a pirate flag and gone out to sea by himself? Do you? The whole room fell silent as the gravity of the situation finally sank in. Ace shook violently while Luffy whimpered before he finally broke down, crying. Sabo. He sobbed. You weren't happy after all, were you? Wah. If I were him, Usopp began, I'd run away, too. So would I, Chopper added. Damn it, Ace cursed. Why did I ever think that he was happy where he was? Why didn't I ever try to take him back? In his rage, the 10-year-old grabbed Dogra by the collar of his shirt and pulled him up to his face. Who the hell killed Sabo? Where are they? Let me out of here so I can kill them. He then dropped Dogra and grabbed his pipe as he prepared to rush out. I'm gonna avenge my brother. Hold it, you dumbass, Dayton barked as she slammed Ace face first into the floor, causing it to crack while the Straw Hats grimaced. Stay the hell out of my way, Ace yelled, his forehead beginning to bleed. You're just one kid, Dayton shouted. What can you do except talk big? If you go out there, now, you're gonna get yourself killed. You'll only die and nobody will even remember by tomorrow, don't you get it? You're worthless? No he's not. Aika whimpered, which prompted Robin to pull her into her arms and hide her face in her bosom, once more while Blizzard covered Kumi's eyes with his tail. It wasn't just those world nobles who killed Sabo, Dayton shouted. It was this country. The whole world. What do you think you can do about it? You little shit, your father, Gold Roger, changed this whole era with his death. Once you become as big a man as him, then you think about getting yourself kid. She turned to the bandits. Now somebody tie this idiot before I decide to kill him myself. Why yes, boss. The bandits answered as they grabbed Ace and carried him outside, even though he struggled, and the whole time, Luffy kept crying. Sabo, he wailed. Shut up, Ace called from outside. Stop your pathetic crying, Luffy. But Luffy just kept sobbing. Until eventually, the memory faded to black. By now, most of the Straw Hats were in tears, themselves, save for Zoro and Sanji. They knew that Sabo survived. But the fact Luffy didn't know until later broke their hearts. My word, Brook whispered as he shook his head, those poor boys. It's hard, Knowing you couldn't save the brother you loved, Robin added while trying to console Ika. Sabo survived, Zoro began, but still, it was way too cruel. And not only that, he didn't even remember Luffy or Ace until that day. To think, Sanji began, Sabo forgot about his own brothers. It's heartbreaking. He lost his memory, Chopper asked. The shock of getting blasted by the celestial dragons was so bad, his mind went into overdrive. Blizzard answered before he looked down in shame. To think, I was angry at him because I thought he just let Fire Fist die and didn't even think of coming to help him or Luffy. When in reality, there were circumstances that were beyond his control. Even though he forgave me when I confronted him, I still feel so ashamed for jumping to conclusions like that. The memory shifted again, and the Straw Hats found that it was somewhere in the afternoon. Luffy was lying on the cliff where he, Ace, and Sabo made their vow of brotherhood. Looking at it now, the Straw Hats felt as if it was just yesterday when they saw those three young boys, happily sharing their sake cups. But to see Luffy lying there, sobbing quietly, they couldn't help but feel their hearts go out to their captain. Just then, Ace approached Luffy from behind, breathed on his fist, and then bopped him on the head, causing him to grunt as he grabbed at the rim of his hat, which Ika clutched slightly as well. "How long are you keep sulking?" Ace asked, to which Luffy sniffed in reply. "The treasure that we hid in the forest is gone, now. I don't know if it burned in the fire, if Blue Jam's crew found it, or if the military got it. Sabo and I never got to use it. But honestly, I don't care anymore. There's not much point in gathering up treasure if you can't protect it, so why bother?" "I can't help feeling sorry for Ace," Nami said. He knew Sabo longer than Luffy did. "He was pretty much his best friend," Zoro said as he placed his hand on the sheath of Wado Ichimonji. "I know how that's like." Blizzard whimpered sadly as he looked down at the silver chain necklace that was wrapped around his paw. The eye socket of the skull and bones charm seemed to twinkle a bit, as if it were shedding a tear. "Ace?" Luffy asked. I want to get stronger." Hearing this caused Ace to glance down at him, as if in surprise, while the Straw Hats gasped a bit. "And stronger, and 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 stronger, longer, and stronger, and stronger. And even stronger than that," Luffy declared. "That's a whole lot of stronger," Sanji quipped. "That way, I won't have to lose anyone precious to me ever again." Luffy whimpered. "I don't want to lose anyone, anymore." "So that's why he's always trying to get stronger," Frankie said. Even back then, he had lots of moxie. "Once someone finds something they feel is worth protecting," Brook began, "they'll go to any length to protect it." "Ace, I'm begging you," Luffy whimpered, "please don't die." The Straw Hats looked away, cringing slightly while Ika gasped silently as she remembered the night when Luffy first found out she was his sister, even though she was sleeping. "I promise I won't die and leave you alone, big brother," Ika whispered as she clutched at Luffy's hat. "You moron," Ace shouted as he hit Luffy in the head, once again. "Don't be stupid. You should be more worried about yourself, not me. You're a lot weaker than I am." Luffy only sniffled in response. "Listen up, Luffy," Ace said. "I promise you, I'm never gonna die. Like I could leave my weakling of a little brother alone. Sabo asked me in his letter to take care of you, so that's what I'm gonna do, got that?" "Okay." Luffy nodded as he sat on his knees. "If only he knew," Nami whispered. "So, I don't understand," Ika said. "Big brother Ace died anyway. Doesn't that mean he couldn't keep his promise, after all? Because Big brother promised me he wouldn't die, too." "Promising someone you won't die is unreasonable," Blizzard said, harshly. "Death happens and there's nothing we can do about it." "Blizzard, that was kinda harsh, don't you think?" asked Chopper. "Yeah, I mean," Kumi said, "you could have sugar-coated it." "There's no sugarcoating something like death," Blizzard shouted, causing Chopper, Ika, and Kumi to jump back a bit in fright, which in turn made him soften a bit. "I'm sorry, but you guys need to learn that." I had to be blunt. "Listen," Ace spoke as he stared out at the sea. "I'm not very smart, so I can't really tell you why Sabo was killed. But whoever did it, it must have someone who opposed freedom. Sabo died without even getting to so much as taste it." "He can now," Robin whispered. "But Sabo was our brother," Ace began, "and you and I are still alive and breathing, Luffy. Listen. We'll live out the rest of our lives with no regrets. Yeah. Luffy nodded, snot dribbling down his nose. One day, you and I will got out to sea, Ace began, and live the way we want to live. You and I will be freer than anyone in the whole world. We'll make a lot of enemies along the way. Even Gramps. Our lives will be in constant danger. We'll leave this island when we turn 17. Nothing will stop us. We'll be pirates, living free on the seas. You got that, Luffy? Yeah. Luffy nodded, again. I got it, despite the bitter sweetness of it. The Straw Hats couldn't help smiling. Despite losing Sabo, the fire of their brotherhood burned ever stronger, and the vow that the two remaining brothers made was proof of it. The Straw Hats found themselves in the forest, once more, but none of them spoke. The memory of Ace's promise to his little brother left them speechless. And yet, they also felt rather guilty. They felt as if they were violating Luffy's privacy by watching his memories. But they knew that they had to keep looking, because somewhere, their real captain was lost and they had to find him. As the Straw Hats watched, they saw Luffy and Ace in the middle of a clearing, the former rushing the latter while swinging his fist wildly. Here I come, Ace, Luffy shouted. Now gum gum, pistol. He threw his arm forward, but Ace simply sidestepped out of the way. Then, Luffy's fist retracted, which caused him to spin out of control before he fell to the ground. Well, Frankie began, at least it's not hitting him in the face anymore. Still, Luffy needs to work on his powers just a bit more, said Robin. Ha 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 ha, Ace laughed. What the hell are you doing, moron? Luffy groaned, dizzily. Just admit it, Ace said, cockily. Rubber just isn't meant for fighting. Shut up, Luffy shouted. You just don't have an open mind. I guess that's kind of true, said Nami. Luffy just needs to work on aiming just a bit more, that's all, Zoro said. He'll get it, eventually. You think I'm wrong or something? Ace asked as he and Luffy started to butt heads. You gave up your ability to swim for some useless power. The only thing it's good for is that you're immune to punches and stuff. Oh, yeah? Luffy questioned. Well, just you wait, I'll make up even more moves than just the gum gum pistol alone, and then I'll kick your sorry butt, you'll see. Good job, Luffy, your arms stretched even further today. The Straw Hats gasped upon hearing that familiar voice. Big Brother Sabo? Ika asked, excitedly. Hey, Ace, it's my turn to spar with you, now. Shut up, Sabo, Ace barked. You're spoiling Luffy too much. Yay, Luffy cheered. I really am getting stronger, right, Sabo? When the two brothers looked up, all they saw was a rock. Wait, Ika said. I could have sworn I heard Big Brother Sabo's voice. Yeah, me too. Kumi piped up. They were hallucinating, said Blizzard. They miss Sabo so much, they still want to believe that he's there with them. So, they thought that they heard him? Asked Ika. It seems so, Brook agreed. I understand how they feel, to dream about lost loved ones. Sabo was always a lot nicer, Luffy said. What is that supposed to mean? Ace questioned. Are you saying you wish I died instead, you little jerk? Soon, the two started bickering again, and before too long, they found themselves not speaking to each other for the rest of the day. It got so bad, in fact, that the two established their own countries right outside the Dayton family house. Really, they were just wooden forts. Although Luffy's was more shoddily made, Frankie actually almost wanted to cry at the sight of Luffy's country, but he knew it was only a memory. Besides, it didn't fall over Luffy's head, so he must have done something right. Still, the sight of the brothers fighting seemed to upset Ika a bit. She knew it was a memory, but she always hated it when her family fought, even back when they were young. Sensing her unease, Nami gently pet the girl's head while Kumi nuzzled her face, which made her smile a bit. The memory shifted, showing Luffy in the forest, getting cornered by the bear that tried to eat him back when he was following Ace, who was currently up in a tree, lounging in the branches. Hey Ace, help me, Luffy called. Why should I? Asked Ace. You said you wanted to do things on your own, right? How cold, Brook said. That jerk, Usopp barked. Luffy could hurt without his help, doesn't he realize that? Yes, that bear is liable to tear Luffy to shreds with just one swipe, Robin surmised. Not helping, Usopp and Chopper shouted. Luffy tried to fight the bear off, but it was no use. The beast raised its huge claws, causing Luffy to gasp in horror before it brought them down. And not long after, Luffy's hat flew through the air, followed by blood spraying, and the Straw Hats could faintly hear Ace screaming out Luffy's name as the boy faded into unconscious. "Holy crap!" Usopp cried. "Is Luffy gonna be okay?" Chopper asked. "Calm down, he obviously isn't dead," Zoro shouted, although even he seemed a little unnerved by that. A little while later, the Straw Hats saw Luffy, lying in a futon, his forehead and torso wrapped up in bandages while Margaret tended to him. Ace, meanwhile, sat in a corner, sobbing while he covered his eyes. "Easy there," Margaret said. "This is no joke. If you arrived any later, Luffy would have died by the time you got here." Aika gasped while Nami covered her mouth in shock. "Come to think of it," said Margaret, "didn't you, Luffy, and Sabo used to hunt beasts like the bear together?" "Damn it." Ace cursed through his sobs. "This is all my fault. I should have known better, fighting alone. Doesn't make you strong, I'm still no good, I'm a worthless piece of shit." Luffy grunted in pain as lightning flashed outside. "I'm sorry, Luffy," Ace cried. "I'm so sorry, Buhuhua." "Finally, he gets it," Sanji said. "Gets what?" Aika asked. Without Sabo around, Zoro began. Ace realizes the full gravity of the situation. It's up to him to protect Luffy from now on. After all, Blizzard started, Sabo asked him to do that much. The memory shifted again, revealing it to be mid-morning, and Makino had come to visit, again. Luffy was out in the yard, playfully chasing a lizard, while Ace talked with the bartender woman. "You want to know about manners?" asked Makino. "Why is that?" "Well, I am Luffy's older brother, after all," Ace said in a matter-of-fact tone, "so it stands to reason that one day, I'll have to go out to sea and thank this red-haired Shanks guy for saving Luffy's life. It's the least I can do, right?" He then noticed that Makino seemed to blink at him in confusion before she gave him a soft smile, which seemed to irritate Ace. "Got something to say to me?" Ace questioned, his cheeks turning red. Makino only gave a warm chuckle. "Sorry," she apologized. "So, what do you want to know?" After calling Luffy over, the lesson started. Although it wasn't really easy, since Luffy tended to be rather distracting and Ace was used to bad-mouthing people. Plus, Luffy thought that Ace's mannerisms and rude dialogue was more interesting. The Straw Hats couldn't help but find it rather amusing. "Hey, Ace," Luffy spoke up in the middle of the lesson. "Earlier today, I found an anaconda's nest full of eggs." "Really? Eggs?" Ace asked, excitedly. "Oh, boy," Nami muttered. "You can tell those two are brothers," Sanji mused. She, Aika giggled. "Silly big brother Ace." "I guess it is a bit silly, isn't it?" Robin queried with an amused smile. I mean. Ace stammered before he turned away. "Sorry, but no. I have to learn to pay my respects, first." "Ah," Luffy whined. "Please come with me. I feel a lot safer if you go with me, Ace." "Ah," Nami cooed. "He's so adorable, wanting his big brother to go with him." "I guess it just goes to show you how dependent Luffy was on Ace," Frankie added. "Indeed," Brook concurred. "It's almost a bit heartbreaking." The scene changed, once more, and the Straw Hats were treated to a series of memories. They saw Ace and Luffy, pulling off more eat-and runs in the city before thanking the chefs for the meal, followed by them having more sparring matches, and they even managed to kill the bear that almost mauled Luffy to death. They would even be seen going back into the Great Terminal, again, despite what happened there. There was some new trash and new residents at the Trash Mountain, almost as if the fire never really happened at all. It was almost sad, really, consider the events that happened before this. When they weren't in the Great Terminal, the brothers would often have a race together in the forest, and the Straw Hats' Bege was beginning to keep up with Ace a bit more than he used to. Seasons came and seasons went. There was actually a time where Luffy got sick again. This time with pneumonia, the same disease that took his mother away. Ace, knowing there was no other choice, carried Luffy all the way to Windmill Village, temporarily riding on the back of a wolf on the way. And for a brief moment, the Straw Hats could have sworn that they saw Sabo leading the way. But they knew that in the heat of the moment, he was more than likely hallucinating again. Thankfully, Ace managed to get Luffy to a doctor in time, where he was soon cured of his illness. Occasionally, Garp would visit the boys and beat them senseless, again, but sometimes he would often take them out camping or fishing. During that time, he would try and convince his grandsons to be Marines instead by telling them about the atrocious crimes that some pirates caused, but they wouldn't hear of it. In fact, it only seemed to intrigue them more. Ace even said that he wanted to kill Whitebeard, although not for reasons that Garp actually liked. Makino would still come and visit, too, and bring the Dayton family food and liquor while also giving presents to Ace and Luffy. One present she brought was a bag of candy for each of the boys, which she told to eat sparingly. Ace listened, but Luffy on the other hand, ate his up right away, which turned out to be a big mistake on his part. The sweets were a bit heavier on his tummy than expected, and he ended up vomiting on Ace's shoes by mistake. Of course, that got Ace mad, but when he saw how sick and sorry Luffy looked, he decided to just let it go, and after that, Dayton sent Luffy to bed so he could sleep his stomachache off. Thankfully, Luffy was well enough to eat dinner that night. As time went on, Ace took it upon himself to be Luffy's scholar as well, teaching him how to read and how to do simple mathematics, as well as what types of food were okay to eat and what weren't. Luffy didn't seem to listen, though. He either fell asleep due to boredom or he was too hungry to listen. However, in time, Ace began to learn to be more patient with Luffy and didn't yell at him or hit him in the head like he used to. The Straw Hats also noticed that Dayton seemed to be growing more fond of the boys. So much so, she actually started making scrapbooks of them. So far, she actually had 3 albums of them. Of course, there were still times they'd make her panic, but at least she didn't threaten them like she used to. It was almost as if she had truly become a mother to the 2 brothers, something that touched Nami a bit. Gradually, the Straw Hats started to see Ace and Luffy beginning to mature both mentally and physically. Ace was getting taller and a bit more muscular, so much so that he had developed a 6-pack. Not only that, but he stopped hitting Luffy and scolding him so much. He was a lot more polite and calm now, thanks to Makino's lessons. However, he still had a bit of a temper issue whenever it came to Luffy being in danger. As for Luffy, he also gotten taller and his limbs were a little lankier, too. He had lost a lot of his baby fat, but not very much of it. The only thing that seemed to remain the same was his face. Plus, he dropped his crybaby personality and was becoming more and more confident. He was able to hold his own in a fight a lot more than he used to and didn't need Ace to protect him as much. Still, he often followed his big brother around, anyway, refusing to go anywhere without him. Eventually, the scene stopped and the Straw Hats found themselves in Edge Town, and it was nearly sundown, too. "What's gonna happen here?" asked Chopper. "I don't know," Blizzard answered. Suddenly, the Straw Hats heard what sounded like someone struggling. "Let me go, you shitheads." "That's Luffy's voice," Usopp exclaimed. As the Straw Hats all turned, they saw Luffy being surrounded by a bunch of thugs, one of which had his arms bound while another held up a glass bottle, the bottom of which had been shattered. It seemed that the thugs already had various injuries on them, so it looked like Luffy had already put up a fight before he had gotten restrained. Well, said the one holding the bottle, the ringleader perhaps. "Looks like Ace isn't around to save your hide this time, Luffy." Luffy grunted as he struggled to get free, but the brute holding him had a firm grip on his arms. "Now then," the leader said as he held the glass bottle dangerously close to Luffy's neck, "where should I make the finishing blow? Here?" He then lowered it to Luffy's chest. "Here, maybe?" He pointed it at Luffy's stomach. "Or here, perhaps?" Luffy growled as the leader snickered evilly, but then the raven-haired boy seemed to spot something behind the leader, which made the teen smirk, and the Straw Hats also grinned, knowing who was standing behind the ringleader's back. "Huh?" the ringleader asked before he turned around, only to get slugged across the face, causing his minions to turn and gasp upon seeing Ace. "That's my little brother you've got in your hands," Ace said as he cracked his knuckles. "I'd thank you to let him go." Now, on that, he drop-kicked the thug holding Luffy, causing him to drop down to the ground. "Thanks, Ace," Luffy said. "Thank me when we're outta here," Ace answered as a brawl commenced. The Straw Hats noticed that the boys weren't really using their pipes anymore, but instead had become accustomed to using fisticuffs. "Go get him, Ace," Kumi called. "Ooh, look out behind you, Luffy. Come on, Ace, go Luffy." "Yeah, get him," cheered Aika, rooting for her brothers. "They really have grown, haven't they?" asked Zoro, an impressed grin on his face. "Yo ho ho ho. Brook chortled. Indeed, what form they have. It's almost as if Luffy's become the Luffy we know today, Robin added. Almost, that is. By now, the thugs had thinned out quite a bit, but some were rather persistent, for they got back up as soon as they were knocked down. Eventually, though, the ringleader had had enough and reached into his coat pocket. What's he doing? Usopp asked as he looked. Only for the leader to pull out a pistol, pointing right at Luffy just as the boy turned to him, and the sight of it caused him to freeze in his tracks while Ace gasped. Luffy, he cried. Well, now, the ringleader grinned. Things are different when you're staring down the barrel of a gun, aren't they? Luffy gasped, his body trembling and sweat beginning to form on his face. Luffy! Ace shouted as he smacked two thugs' heads together, knocking them out cold. Run! Get out of here! I guess Luffy hasn't figured out that guns can't hurt him yet, Frankie said. And neither has Ace, by the sound of it, Sanji added. Run, Luffy! Ace shouted, but Luffy didn't even flinch, and that only made the young man more agitated. Damn it, man, you think I'm kidding around? Run, I said. Stop standing there. Say goodbye. The ringleader smirked as he pulled the trigger, and soon after, a gunshot rang out, causing the Straw Hats to gasp. Luffy! Ace screamed in horror while Luffy stumbled back, grunting and gasping as he clutched his chest. But then, Ace, the remaining thugs, and even the ringleader gaped in shock as they saw Luffy's skin stretch right out the back of his shirt. Then, it snapped right back into its original position, while something whizzed through the air and hit the ringleader right in the shoulder, causing him to scream in pain. Damn it, I got shot, he shouted. What the hell just happened? Asked one of the thugs. Shoot him again, yelled another. No, Ace cried as he tried to stop a third one from shooting his gun at Luffy, but once again, that one got the same result. The bullet ended up hitting Luffy in the back, catching him by surprise, once more, but just like before, it shot right out of his body and ended up ricocheting off a wall and hitting the thug who fired it, causing him to scream as he fell down, clutching his knee. Luffy gaped as he looked down at his body, TF shock, he began to grin. I'm bulletproof, he whispered before he laughed and threw his fists into the air. I'm bulletproof. So that's how he learned that guns can't hurt him, Zoro said. Better late than never, Blizzard said. Yay, big brother, Ika cheered. By now, the thugs were terrified while Luffy seemed to smirk at them. The boy then began to approach as they huddled together in fright before he got up in one's face, took in a deep breath, and said, Boo! That was enough to send them running away, screaming like a bunch of little girls. Screw this! Shouted one of them as they grabbed their injured leader and their friend. We're not crazy enough to tangle with a demon kid like you. She. Luffy laughed. Man, what a bunch of wusses, Nami smiled. That's why Luffy's my man. There's a lot of reasons why Luffy's your man, Zoro quipped. Yeah, but this is one of them, Nami replied. At that moment, Ace began to approach Luffy. But he had his eyes hooded under the rim of his hat, which gave a bit of an ominous air to him, but as usual, Luffy remained oblivious as he turned to his older brother. Ace, look, did you see that? He asked. I'm bulletproof, bullets can't hurt me. All of a sudden, Ace slugged Luffy across the face, knocking him down to the ground and unnerving the Straw Hats, once again while the older D-carrier seethed angrily. What the hell? Frankie questioned. What did he punch him for? Chopper asked. Yeah, he's just fine, Kumi added. You moron, Ace yelled. Why didn't you run away like I told you? Luffy only stared up at Ace, holding his bruised cheek with wide, hurt eyes. You are so lucky you had those powers, Ace shouted. Do you know what would have happened if you didn't? You could have died. Next time, when I tell you to run away, you run away, Luffy. Never freeze like that, again, ever. Ika gasped silently, as she began to remember when Luffy yelled at her earlier today. When I say, run, Ika, you run, don't ever freeze like that again. Big brother Ace, he was scared, Ika whispered, just like Big brother was. And he used his anger to hide his fear, Nami added. Just like how Luffy did when he yelled at you, today. Can you blame him? Zoro asked. He came really close to losing another brother. If it weren't for his devil fruit powers, Luffy would have bled out, instantly. Yeah, Chopper answered. He was shot, point blank. Without those powers, that bullet would have hit his heart. After Ace had composed himself, he turned to leave, only to stop upon hearing sniffling. He turned and he saw Luffy, chewing his lip and clutching at his pants legs. Tears welling up in his eyes and his nose already running with snot, and almost instantly, Ace began to feel guilty. Shit. He cursed under his breath before he approached his little brother and reached his hand out to touch him. Oh okay, Lu, I. Before he could finish, Luffy's expression went from just hurt to being hurt and angry. Then, he pushed Ace's hand away before he ran past him. Wait, Luffy, Ace called. Luffy, come back, I'm sorry. But Luffy kept running, through the city gates, through the great terminal, and into the forest while the Straw Hats felt their hearts go out to Luffy. They knew it wasn't really Ace's fault, but still, he could have been a bit less harsh. The memory shifted, and the Straw Hats found Luffy, huddled up in a cave, trying to keep dry from the pouring rain as he sniffled and sobbed. It was almost like how he, Ace, and Sabo were huddled up underneath the large tree that would later be their hideout. Poor big brother, Aika said as she went to hug Luffy, only to phase right through him. Oh, yeah. This is a memory. You're not the real you, so I can't touch you. The Straw Hats looked at Aika, sympathetically, knowing she wanted to comfort her brother, but couldn't. She was no doubt upset by all of this, but there was little to be done to console her. Just then, they heard footsteps approach, and Luffy looked up to see someone peeking inside. The Straw Hats could immediately tell it was Ace, so they relaxed. Lu? Ace asked. That you in there, little bro? Go away, Ace. Luffy answered, sniffling. Oh, Luffy. Nami whispered as Ace came and sat next to the 13-year-old boy. Anyway. I said go away, Luffy said. A pause. But then Ace reached inside the pocket of his shirt and pulled out a chocolate bar, which caught Luffy's attention immediately. The older D brother unwrapped the candy, then broke it in half before he handed one half to Luffy. Here, Ace told him. Take it. Luffy took the candy bar and ate it in just 2 bites. The two brothers sat silently in the cave, listening to the rain fall outside while the Straw Hats just observed them. I'm sorry I yelled at you, Luffy, Ace spoke, and hit you, too. It's okay, Luffy answered. I should have run away like you told me to, but I was too scared. So was I, Ace replied, causing Luffy to look at him in surprise, but then he side-eyed him, skeptically. Yeah, right, Luffy said. You're older than me, you're not afraid of anything. I was today, Ace said. You're? Luffy asked. Yeah, Ace answered. I was afraid I would lose another brother. Luffy's eyes went wide, finally understanding Ace's reasoning. It's still no excuse to punch him across the face, Usopp muttered. Let it go, Nami replied. So I guess even big brothers get scared, too, don't they? Asked Luffy. Yup, Ace answered. But you know what? Luffy asked in a hushed tone and a grin on his face. What? Ace whispered as he leaned closer so Luffy could whisper in his ear. I bet those jerks were more scared than you were. Hearing that caused Ace and the Straw Hats to chuckle. Yeah, I bet they were. Ace smirked before he pulled Luffy into a headlock. Come here, you little knucklehead. He then proceeded to give Luffy a noogie. Oh, no, Luffy cried in protest as he struggled to get free. Ace, come on, stop. He then twisted his head a bit before he pulled it free from Ace's grasp, then proceeded to tackle him into a mud puddle outside. The two brothers laughed as they began to wrestle around in the muck, getting it all in their faces, their hair, and all over their clothes, and the Straw Hats laughed at the pair's reconciliation. After the rain stopped, the brothers headed back to the Dayton family house, where they immediately given an ear lashing from Dayton for coming back and tracking mud all over the floor. She soon forced them both to take a bath before they ate dinner, but she couldn't stay mad at them for too long. Especially when Ace fell asleep in the middle of eating, which caused Luffy to eat his food while he wasn't looking. It seems like the reason why Luffy acts a bit harsh around Aika at times, Nami began, is because he was influenced by Ace so much. I guess this is how he thinks he's being a good big brother to young Miss Aika, in a way, Brook mused. I think he's a good big brother, anyway, Aika said. The memory shifted, once more, and the Straw Hats found Ace standing on a dinghy with some barrels. Standing above him on a cliff was Luffy, as well as the rest of the Dayton family. It was at this moment the Straw Hats realized that Ace had finally turned 17, and thus, it was time for him to begin his journey to become a pirate. "Well, Luffy, I'm off," Ace exclaimed. "Take care out there," Luffy replied, grinning proudly at his brother. "See you in 3 years, Ace." "You keep on training while I'm gone, here?" Ace asked. "You bet I will," Luffy answered. "Just you wait, I'll be a hell of a lot stronger next time you see me." "Goodbye, Ace," Dogra called. "And good luck out there," added Magra. On that, Ace sailed away while the Straw Hats watched him. Luffy just kept waving until his brother was out of sight. Once the bandits left, Luffy was alone. And the Straw Hats momentarily saw a look of sadness in Luffy's eyes. "He misses Ace already," Nami said, sadly. "Poor guy, ew, this day was coming," Zoro spoke. "Yeah, but now Big Brother looks all lonely, again," Aika added while Kumi whimpered. "He won't be for too long," Blizzard reassured, "hopefully, anyway." "All right," Luffy said as he cracked his knuckles. "Can't waste any time, moping around. Gotta get back to training." With that, he headed off to his old training ground. "He's using training to try and take his mind off Ace," Brook said. "I know how that feels." "Me, too," Zoro nodded. Before long, Luffy was standing in the middle of the clearing where he would spar with Ace and Sabo, staring at a boulder. The scoreboard was covered with moss and ivy, and the numbers had since faded away with time. The brothers' pipes now had a thin layer of rust on them, too. "Okay," Luffy said as he began to wind his arm up. "Just 3 more years. I can't slack off if I want to get stronger than Ace, one of these days. Now gum gum. Pistol." He threw his arm forward, but his aim was just a bit too high, for he ended up smashing off just the top of the boulder. "Ah, crap," Luffy cursed. "I can throw my punches without hitting myself, now. I just need to learn how to aim, that's all." "Try aiming a bit lower, this time, Luffy," a familiar voice said in his head, and soon, an image of Sabo appeared on the boulder. "Is Luffy hallucinating, again?" asked Usopp. "No," Robin answered. "I think he's using Sabo's mental image to try and encourage himself." "I guess that would make sense," Frankie said. "Okay, here I go," Luffy said as he began to wind his arm up again. Gum gum. Pistol. This time, Luffy's fist smashed the boulder right in the center, shattering it completely. "Yes," he cheered. "Yeah, baby, woohoo, I did it." He then looked at his own arm. "I'm getting there. I'm getting stronger." The Straw Hats smiled at Luffy's success and his growing confidence. Soon, the memory changed again, and the Straw Hats found themselves in the Dayton family house, once more. But this time, he looked entirely different, yet familiar, as well. He was wearing the same red vest and blue jean shorts that he wore 2 years ago, and he had an expression of confidence, pride, and innocence on his face. The kind the Straw Hats were always so used to seeing, but don't see as often as they did 2 years ago. "Wow," Aika whispered in awe. "So cool," Kumi whispered. "Look how much he's grown," Nami said, proudly. "Hey," Zoro smirked. "Now that looks more like the Luffy we know and love." "He doesn't have as much muscle as he does now," Frankie started, "but still, it's good to see him like this." "He's in the prime of his life," Brook added. "Indeed, he is," Robin agreed. "I think I'm gonna cry." Usopp sniffled. "Me, too," Chopper added, tearfully. "Take it easy, you guys," Sanji quipped as he put his hands on their shoulders. Blizzard only smiled, a feeling of pride welling up in his chest as Luffy headed for the door, but then stopped and peeked into the room where Dayton and the other bandits were. "Hey, guys, I'm off now," Luffy called. "Aren't you coming to see me off?" "How annoying are you?" asked Dayton. "You know that even though Makino and the mayor know us, the rest of the folks down at Windmill Village are afraid of us. Just go by yourself, will you?" "Ah." Luffy pouted, but then he smiled. "Oh, yeah, one more thing, Dayton. I still hate mountain bandits." Hearing that caused the Straw Hats and the bandits to tense up. "Just get lost, damn it," Dayton barked. "But I like you guys," Luffy added, causing Dayton to gasp before she reached into her shirt and pulled out a handkerchief, which she began to comically cry into. "What did you have to go and say that for, you little shit?" she asked. "Just get the hell out of here. Why am I surrounded by such fools?" The rest of the bandits only chuckled while the Straw Hats smiled warmly. You know, I have to wonder, Nami began. How did she take the news about Ace's death? The others immediately fell silent. I guess she was pretty shook up, Usopp spoke up. Yeah, Sanji muttered. I mean, sure, Garp pretty much forced them on her, but still. Deiden treated those boys like they were her sons. She really came to love them. I wonder if Luffy even kept in contact with them, Chopper added. A bit later, Luffy was standing in the Windmill Village cemetery, before his mother's grave, where a bouquet of fresh-cut spider lilies lay on the soil. Makino stood behind him with a smile on her face. Well, Mom, Luffy began, I'm leaving home for the first time. I'm sorry I haven't been here to see you much. But I promise that once I become the king of the pirates, I'll come see you more often, okay? Silence. Save for the sound of Frankie sniffling. I'm not crying. He whimpered. Your mother would be so proud of you, Luffy, Makino said. I know she would have wanted to see you set sail. Really? Luffy asked. Of course, Makino answered. All she wanted was for you to be happy and pursue your dream, and now you're making it happen. She. Luffy laughed. I am, huh? He then turned to leave. Well, I'm not gonna be the king of the pirates just standing here. Let's head to the pier, Makino. Right, Makino nodded as they headed off, together. But as they did, Luffy turned to glance at his mother's grave, one last time. And for a short moment, he could see Star, standing next to her tombstone, smiling sweetly at Luffy. When he blinked, she was gone. What's wrong, Luffy? Makino asked. Nothing, Luffy answered as he smiled. Now it was Nami's turn to cry, because she felt a similar instance on the night before she left her village to join Luffy and the others. She could have sworn that she had felt Belmere pushed her forward, but when she turned around, she was gone. The navigator wiped her tears away, knowing that on this day, she should be happy for Luffy. Soon, the Straw Hats found themselves at the pier, where the people of Windmill Village had gathered to say their goodbyes to Luffy, who was standing in a small dinghy with nothing but a large barrel. It was almost surprising, seeing this peaceful little village again. Hey, Luffy, called someone. Why don't you take my old fishing boat, instead? You're liable to sink in that old thing. No thank you, Luffy answered. This is what I want to start with. He then turned around and looked up to the sky before he threw his fists into the air. Hey, Sabo, watch me, I'm going out to sea, now. The townsfolk only glanced at each other in confusion while Makino chuckled, softly. Even the Straw Hats couldn't help laughing in slight amusement. Sabo was first, Luffy started, then Ace was second. So I'm the third, but I'm not gonna lose to them. Wait for me, Ace, I'll be catching up to you, soon enough. What are you babbling on about, now, Luffy? Asked one of the townsfolk. Is that some kind of good luck charm or something? And who's Ace, anyway? Asked another. It's not a charm, Luffy corrected, it's a challenge. They don't know who Big Brother Ace is, asked Aika. I guess it makes sense, Kumi answered. Ace was living in the mountains and he hardly came down to the village. Well, I'm off now, Luffy said as he began to sail off with the tide. Goodbye, everyone. Soon, the townspeople began to wave goodbye to Luffy while the Straw Hats smiled. From humble beginnings, Brook said. The journey of Straw Hat Luffy truly begins, here. Just then, however, something emerged from the sea before Luffy. The giant eel Sea King from 10 years ago. Oh, no. Nami said in horror. Of course he'd get into some trouble, right away, Zoro muttered, but for some reason, he didn't seem very concerned, and neither was Luffy, who just smirked as he lowered his head. So it's you again, huh? He asked while the Sea King growled. I've actually been looking forward to seeing you. I'm not the wimp I used to be, 10 years ago. The Sea King roared as it lunged for Luffy, preparing to devour him whole. Okay, Luffy said as he began Goom, pistol. He threw his fist forward, and the punch hit the mark, perfectly, hitting the beast square in the jaw. The Sea King soon fell back into the water with a mighty splash while the Straw Hats smiled proudly. They'd seen Luffy take down Sea Kings that were much larger, but here, seeing him do it for the very first time, it showed that Luffy was truly coming into his own. Big Brother is so awesome, Aika whispered, her admiration for her older half-brother growing more and more. Okay then, Luffy said as he dusted his palms. First things first. I gotta find me a pirate crew. About 10 people or so should do fine. Then I'm gonna have to find a flag, of course. He then grinned as he threw his fists into the air. One more time. Look out world, 'cause here I come. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. And with that, Straw Hat Luffy set sail. The fire of his ambition growing ever brighter. Well, Nami began. We saw all of Luffy's childhood and the day he left home. Big brother was so cool, Aika exclaimed. Did you see what he did to that Sea King? He just stretched his arm and... Kapow! Kumi shouted. Like that, right? Yeah, just like that, Aika answered. So, is that it? Usopp asked. I doubt it, Robin replied. Cover says we could find Luffy, the real Luffy, by the end of all this. And clearly, we're not done here. Well, we saw him being born, Usopp said, followed by his childhood, his mom's death, when he met Shanks and when Shanks saved him, when they made that promise, when Garp made him go live with the bandits. Luffy growing up with Ace and Sabo, when Sabo was... well, you know. Then Ace leaving, and finally Luffy leaving home, too. What else could there be? Frankie asked. I think I might have an idea, Zoro replied. It's pretty obvious that this memory still takes place in the East Blue, Sanji said, so where is he? There he is, Blizzard said as he pointed his paw to the familiar dinghy that Luffy was sitting in. Ah, Luffy sighed in content as he held his oar. What a day, great day, the weather's so nice. Who'd have thought this voyage would end in disaster so soon? What's he talking about? Chopper asked. I believe that he's talking about that, Brook said as he pointed to an enormous whirlpool that Luffy was drifting right toward. The Straw Hats questioned. How could that moron sail right toward a whirlpool? Nami asked. Geez, and I thought he was stupid before, Blizzard shouted. Hard to believe I'm getting sucked up into this huge whirlpool, Luffy said. I guess I did get a little careless. He then looked out towards the empty horizon. I could use some help but I don't see anybody around. Ah, well, can't be helped, down I go. He's so calm, even though he knows he's about to go into the drink, Sanji asked. How thick-headed can he get? Ah, it's too bad I can't swim, either, Luffy said before he smiled and pounded a fist into his palm. Of course, what was I thinking? If you sail right toward a whirlpool, it won't matter if you know how to swim or not, I drown even if I can't swim. As the whirlpool began to pull Luffy's boat towards its center, the boy glanced over at the empty barrel he took with him. After about 5 seconds, a light bulb seemed to appear over his head. Oh, boy, Nami muttered. I think I know what he might be thinking. Luffy took the lid off the barrel, then tossed the barrel itself off into the water. After that, Luffy stretched his arm, grabbed the barrel, and pulled himself inside, putting the barrel over his head. Upon seeing the inside of the barrel, the Straw Hats saw tiny crumbs at the bottom, so they assumed that there must have been food inside at one point, but knowing Luffy, they realized he must have eaten it all. Luffy then took a peek outside the barrel as he watched his boat get crushed by the water pressure and sink. Poor little dinghy, said Frankie, lowering his head sadness, never had a chance. Phew, Luffy sighed. That was close. He then sat down in the barrel. Geez, it's only been a day since I left, and already, things have taken a pretty harsh turn. This was the day after he left? Usopp questioned. You have got to be kidding, Sanji exclaimed. What kind of star was he born under to get this kind of luck? Luffy sat in the barrel, silently at first, but then he sighed as he patted his knees and scratched his shoulder. Well, now what do I do? He asked. Wish we knew, Blizzard replied. Luffy then yawned and stretched his arms. I guess I'll reach land one way or another, Luffy said before he put his hat over his eyes. Until then, maybe I'll take a little. Before long, he conked out, snoring. Luffy sure knows how to fall asleep in the strangest of places, Nami mused. The memory faded to black, and at first, the Straw Hats didn't know what was happening. However, they could hear Luffy snoring, still, so he was obviously still asleep. Then, all of a sudden, the Straw Hats could hear voices. Well, our favorite coward, a gruff voice said. You trying to hide in her and duck out on all the action, again? No way. A meek voice stammered. I was just trying to haul this big barrel of beer over to you guys. Almost instantly, Zoro's good eye went wide as he recognized the voice. Isn't that Kobe? He asked. Who? Aika queried. Wait, that can't be Kobe, Chopper spoke up. Yeah, Kobe's voice is a little deeper than that, isn't it? Frankie asked. Who's Kobe? Aika asked, again. Yeah, how come I never heard of him? Kumi inquired. I'm quite curious as to who this Kobe person is, as well, Brooke spoke. Kobe's an old friend of your brother's, Nami answered. Luffy met him sometime after he first started sailing. Oh, Aika exclaimed. So he's one of Big Brother's friends, that's nice. The gruff voice from earlier was heard snickering. Why don't we help you lighten the load? The person asked. I was just starting to get thirsty, said another voice. You can't, Kobe's voice shouted. Lady Alvida will kill us if she ever found out. She won't if you keep your trap shut, a third voice said in a warning tone. Right, boy? Yeah, right, Kobe replied, nervously. That doesn't sound like Kobe, Sanji said. He sounds like a real wimp, to me. Yeah, doesn't sound anything like the kid we saw in Water 7, Frankie replied. A lot can happen in a short time, said Zoro. Trust me, that's Kobe. Soon, the Straw Hats heard a thud, as well as the three earlier strangers snickering. This sucker's heavy, said the first voice. Perfect, said the second one. Hold on, boys. I'll open, the old-fashioned way. Oh, boy. Zoro muttered. Are they gonna be in for a surprise? Before the Straw Hats even knew what happened, Luffy suddenly sprang up out of the barrel and punched a rather large man in the jaw. A pirate, obviously, and the boy gave a rather loud yawn while Kobe and the other two pirates gaped in shock. I slept so great, Luffy shouted. Whoa, Kumi exclaimed. He popped right out of the barrel, Chopper cried. Luffy was always known for big entrances, Nami muttered. Somehow, I'm not surprised about that, Usopp added. Wow, Aika cheered. So cool, I want to do that. You most certainly are not, Missy, Nami scolded. Ah, why? Aika pouted. Shush, Zoro shushed. At that moment, Luffy finally noticed the pirate he accidentally knocked out. Who's that? He asked before he noticed the other two pirates. Who the hell are you guys? Who the hell are you? The pirates questioned. Your friend will catch cold sleeping on the floor like that, Luffy said nonchalantly as he pulled himself out of the barrel. But you're the one who knocked him out, the pirates yelled. The Straw Hats couldn't help but snicker at Luffy's oblivious nature. Hold up, one pirate shouted as he held his sword in front of Luffy's face. Are you trying to screw with us, knowing that we're vicious pirates? Huh? I'm starving, Luffy said as he stood in front of the stunned Kobe. Got any food in here? I'm talking to you, the pirate roared. So that's what Kobe used to like before we met him in Water 7, Sanji mused. Who knew? Asked Chopper. He really does look a bit like a wimp. You damn kid. His cohort shouted as they both prepared to strike Luffy down, causing Kobe to shriek in fear. However, Luffy simply looked down before, quick as a flash, he threw the swords out of their hands, causing the blades to break and stick into the ceiling. HMPH, Zoro scoffed. What a couple of cheap blades, steel shouldn't break so easily. Indeed, Brook concurred. What is wrong with you two? Luffy asked the pirates in confused annoyance, while the two thugs shivered in fright. Who are you? Asked one of them. Me? Luffy asked before he smiled and crossed his arms with an air of confidence. My name's Monkey D. Luffy. Hi. He then gave his usual teeth flashing, GE the pirates stammered and dashed out in fear. Wusses, Sanji smirked. I think I saw one of 'em piss in their pants, said Usopp. Weenies, Aika added. Man, they were really outmatched, Zoro spoke up. What was that? Kobe asked in surprise before he gasped. Hey, listen, you need to leave, right now. Once those two come with their buddies, you'll be in big trouble. I don't care about that, I'm hungry, Luffy said, nonchalantly. When is he not hungry? Sanji asked while Robin chuckled in amusement. How can you be so calm about this? Kobe asked as Luffy's nose seemed to twitch, obviously picking up the scent of food. Though Kobe tried to hold him back, Luffy managed to make his way into a storage room. Whoa, it's a gold mine, Luffy exclaimed as he jumped down into the room and looked around. Food, 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 food. Soon, he cracked open a box of apples and began to chow down. Hey, Kobe greeted, a bit sheepishly. My name's Kobe. That was pretty neat there, you jumping out of that barrel like that. These are awesome, Luffy said as he kept eating the apples. So, are we on a pirate ship or what? No, we're on a passenger ship that's being raided by pirates, Kobe said. Pirates under the command of Lady Alvida. Oh, wait, I think I remember this, Nami exclaimed. I was on the passenger ship, too. Why? Zoro asked. To filch off the guests. For your information, Nami began, I was not filching off the guests. I was filching off the pirates while they were busy raiding the ship. Still filching, said Zoro. Nami only side-eyed the swordsman at this. Ah, who cares? Luffy asked with his usually carefree attitude. What I want to know is if there's a boat around here. Mine got sucked up by that whirlpool outside. No way, Kobe exclaimed in surprise. Nobody could have survived. Nobody but Luffy, Usopp noted. The boy with the devil's luck. Yeah, Luffy grinned. I gotta admit, it was a big surprise. He then went back to eating. So are you one of the pirates or one of the passengers? The Straw Hats noticed Kobe's face pale upon being asked that, and after a moment's pause, he explained to Luffy how he ended up on Alvida's crew after he went out fishing for his dinner, and since then, he had been her cabin boy for 2 years. So he just go on board a pirate's dinghy, not even checking to see if it belonged to them? Asked Nami. What a moron, said Frankie. You're pretty stupid, aren't you? Luffy inquired, bluntly. Gee, thanks for your honesty, Kobe said, hanging his head in shame. You could just run away, you know, Luffy answered. Yeah, why didn't he just run away? Ika asked. I can't do that, no way, Kobe argued, shaking his head. Just the thought of Alvida finding me makes me want to throw up. You're a moron and a coward, Luffy laughed. I hate people like you. Hearing that caused the cabin boy to comically cry in disappointment. And I thought Usopp was cowardly, Blizzard muttered. I'm right here, you know, Usopp shouted. I still think you're cool, Usopp, Chopper spoke up. Ah, thanks, Chopper, Usopp smiled. You're right, Kobe spoke, getting the Straw Hats' attention. If I had the courage, I could drift around in a barrel and be rid of these pirates. I actually have my own dreams, and someday, I'd like to live out all of them. What child doesn't have his own dreams? Brook asked, almost whimsically. I'll say, Frankie grinned with his arms crossed. What about you, Luffy? Kobe queried. What got you to set sail on these seas? Well, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, Luffy grinned. Almost instantly, Kobe's face paled, once again. A king, he repeated. Yep, Luffy affirmed. Are you serious? Kobe questioned. Yeah, Luffy replied, again. But that would mean that you're a pirate, too, Kobe stammered. Right, Luffy said, almost proudly at that. Your crew? Kobe asked. Don't have one yet, Luffy admitted, but I'm looking for him. Kobe just sat there, mouth agape, while Luffy blinked at him in confusion, even waving his hand in front of his eyes as if saying, hello, anybody home? That's when Kobe stood straight up with a gasp. King of the Pirates is a title of one who gains everything this world has to offer, he exclaimed. You're talking about seeking the great treasure of wealth, fame, and power. Luffy nodded his head in confirmation, still having that dopey smile on his face as if it were all casual. The treasure that you seek is the One Piece, cried Kobe. Yeah, Luffy exclaimed. Yeah, that's it, Kobe shouted. Pirates from all over the world are hunting that treasure, you know. Yeah, so? Luffy asked, casually. No way, it's impossible. Impossible. Impossible, Kobe cried. There's no way someone like you could reach the pinnacle of this great pirate age. There's always gonna be someone who's meaner and better. All of a sudden, Luffy slammed his fist in the back of Kobe's skull, knocking him to the floor. Ow! Kobe moaned. Why did you hit me? Because I felt like it, Luffy said, bluntly and with slight annoyance in his voice. About time somebody shut him up, Sanji muttered. That wasn't nice, Ika said, worriedly. Luffy just has his methods, Blizzard replied, as weird as they seem. If you say so, Kumi answered. That's okay, Kobe spoke up. I'm used to it. The pirates used to beat me around a lot. All the time, in fact. Poor Kobe, Ika said, sadly. He must have been under a lot of abuse during his time with Alvida, Robin added. It's not about if I can, Luffy said as he put his hand on his hat. I'm doing this because I want to. Kobe looked up at Luffy as he took the hat off his head. I decided long ago that I'm gonna be king of the pirates, Luffy started, and if I have to die fighting for that, then I die. Kobe stared at Luffy in awe at his words, while the Straw Hats grinned at their captain's conviction. In fact, Aika was trying her hardest to hold back a squeal as her eyes sparkled. Breathe, Aika, Kumi said, causing Aika to sigh. Sorry, Aika said. It's just, we know, kid, Zoro replied. Your brother is just that great a guy, Usopp added with a proud smile. Every time I see him be so confident, it gives me courage, too. Yeah, I know, Aika said. Big brother is so brave and cool and strong. That's why I want to be like him when I become a pirate. At that moment, Luffy put his hat on his hand and began to walk out. All right, he said. Now that my belly's full, I'm gonna go find me a brand new boat. They might even just give me one if I ask nice enough. Maybe they're generous people. Why would he think a bunch of pirates like them are generous? Asked Sanji. Same old Luffy, Nami began, a glass half full kind of guy. But we still love him, Robin added. Yeah, we do, Nami smiled. Even if you die, huh? Kobe murmured. Hey, Luffy. Luffy hummed as he turned to face Kobe. If I really put my mind to it, Kobe said. If I was willing to put my life on the line. Do you think I could do it? Do what, exactly? Asked Luffy. Do you think that? Maybe I could join the Marines? Asked Kobe. The Marines? Luffy repeated. The Marines? Aika asked in surprise. Yes. Kobe exclaimed with teary eyes. Going out to sea and catching bad guys is all I ever wanted to do. It's been my dream since I was a child. Isn't he still a kid here? Asked Usopp. Shush, Frankie shushed. His eyes also tearing up. Don't interrupt. A kid's declaring his dream, here. Okay, I understand, Usopp replied, sorry. Do you really think that I could do it, Luffy? Asked Kobe. How should I know? Luffy asked with a chuckle, although the Straw Hats could tell he was being honest. No, in fact. I will do it, Kobe declared. Yeah? They're nuts if they think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life as a cabin boy. I'll break out of here, and when I do, I'll put Alvida behind bars. Before he could speak any further, the ceiling suddenly burst. Pehe Straw Hats shielded themselves from the debris, even though it went flying through them. Once the dust settled, the Straw Hats, Luffy, and Kobe all opened their eyes to see a very large, very fat woman wearing a white 10-gallon hat and holding a giant spiked mace in her hand. Who's the fat lady? Aika asked. I believe that's Iron Mace Alvida, Nami said. She was a pirate in the East Blue, worth about 5 million. Sheesh, I heard she was fat, but this is overdoing it a bit. I think I need to bleach my eyeballs, Blizzard muttered in disgust. I definitely have no interest in seeing her panties, Brook added. And just who are you planning to put behind bars, Kobe? Alvida questioned, while the boy in question looked as if he was going to soil himself. And you actually think this twig is going to help you? Well, answer me? Kobe still whimpered while Alvida looked to Luffy, who blinked in confusion. This boy wouldn't happen to be pirate hunter Zoro, now would he? She asked. Zoro? Luffy repeated. So that's where he heard my name from, Zoro mused. Wow, Zoro, Chopper exclaimed. You must have been pretty famous back then, huh? Well, not in a good way, Zoro replied. What do you mean? Aika asked. You'll figure it out later, sweetie, Nami answered. Kobe, Alvida barked, causing Kobe to yelp. Why yes, ma'am, he squeaked. Who is the most beautiful woman in these seas? Alvida asked. She ain't no Boa Hancock, Blizzard muttered, causing Usopp and Sanji to snicker a bit. The most beautiful woman? Kobe stammered. Well, of course, that would be. Hey, Kobe, Luffy spoke. Who's this fat old lady? Kobe's face, as well as the faces of the pirates who had come to ambush them, all paled while Alvida gaped in shock. And the Straw Hats were trying their hardest not to laugh, but in the end, they just couldn't hold back and went into full-blown guffaws. That's Luffy for ya, Frankie exclaimed. He'll tell y'all like it is, ha 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 ha. I know I shouldn't laugh, Aika began, but it's so funny. I haven't laughed this hard when we heard that stone guy's squeaky voice. Kumi added, laughing along with her human. Yo ho 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 ho, Brooke laughed. Oh, my ribs. Yo ho 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 ack cough cough. Choked on my spit. Ha 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 ha. Chopper laughed as he leaned against Blizzard's leg, the wolf dog himself laughing so hard that tears fell out of his eyes. Sanji had laughed so hard, he was on the floor, clutching his sides, and Nami and Usopp were in complete hysterics. Even Zoro was doubling over in laughter, while Robin leaned against him, unable to cover her mouth in her laughing fit. As for Alvida, well, she was very much pissed, judging by the various veins popping up on her face. You damn brat, she bellowed as she swung her mace at Luffy, who easily jumped out of the way due to his smaller and leaner physique before he landed in front of Kobe. Let's go, he told him, causing Cowering Boy to gasp before Luffy grabbed his arm and jumped out of the hole that Alvida made. They found themselves surrounded by the pirates. And yet, Luffy simply had his hand on top of his hat as he gave a cocky grin. Here we go, Blizzard smirked. Oh, boy, Aika exclaimed. Big Brother's first fight as a pirate. This is gonna be so exciting. Soon, the fight began, but Luffy easily fought back, throwing punches and headbutts. The pirates tried to use dirty tactics like attacking him at once with swords, or jumping at him from behind, but Luffy was one step ahead of them, grabbing the one that tried to hit from above by the head and then hurling him at his crewmates like a rag doll. Then, the pirates tried to chase after him, and Luffy momentarily faked cowardice by running away. Until they saw his stretching arm, that is. Goom. Rocket. With that one attack, the pirates were soon mowed down to nothing. Wow, Aika cheered. Did you see that? That was so cool. Luffy was so strong, even back then, Chopper added. Who'd have thought that this was the same kid who couldn't even stand up to a bunch of bandits, asked Zoro. That's our Luffy, Nami smiled. Once the little scuffle was over, Kobe approached Luffy in complete shock. Luffy. What are you? He asked. Oh, yeah, Luffy answered as he hooked his finger in his mouth and stretched his cheek. I'm a rubber man. She, Aika giggled. It's always funny when Big Brother does that. So you're made of rubber? Kobe asked before he suddenly gasped, sensing a dangerous presence behind him. He turned and gasped upon seeing Alvida, who glowered at him and Luffy, the former giving a shriek as he ran to the latter's side. So, Alvida began as she glanced at Luffy, you've eaten one of the devil fruits. Yep. Luffy answered as he let his cheek snap back into place. I ate the gum fruit. Aha, Alvida realized. I heard rumors that they existed, but I never thought I'd actually see one. You're far more skilled than your average deck swabber. Are you a bounty hunter, boy? Nope. Luffy replied. I'm a pirate. A pirate? Alvida repeated. Huh? Sailing by yourself in these waters? Today, it's just me, said Luffy, but I'll find more tomorrow. Or by next week or something. I'm thinking about having, 10 guys. Well, there's more than 10 of us, now, Nami mused with mild amusement as she scratched behind Blizzard's and Kumi's ears, causing them both to smile and wag his tail. Indeed, Robin said as she gently pet Aika on the head, causing her to giggle. Tell me, boy, Alvida spoke. Since you and I are both pirates, and we're both under different flags. That would make us enemies, am I right? Luffy. Kobe whispered. Let's go. Huh? Luffy muttered. Why? Because, Kobe started, out of all the pirates in the East Blue. Alvida is. He then gasped silently as his eyes went wide, to the Straw Hat's confusion. What is it you're going to say, Kobe? Asked Alvida. Out with it, boy. A pause. But then Kobe gritted his teeth as he glared at Alvida and shouted, Alvida is the ugliest swine on the seas. Hearing that caused Alvida and her pirates to gape in shock, while the Straw Hats laughed once again. Even Luffy in the memory was laughing this time. Preach it, kid, Frankie exclaimed. She is indeed quite the gonk, Brooke added. Amen, Sanji nodded. What did you just say? Alvida questioned. You heard me, Kobe yelled. I'm gonna be a marine and fight pirates like you. And then, one day, I'll capture your fat, lousy ass and throw you in prison. You little brat, Alvida roared as she prepared to squash Kobe flat with her mace, causing him to scream in terror with tears coming out of his eyes. "Geez," said Usopp. "I see he still has a lot to work on in the courage department. Even I don't do that. Well, not anymore." "Just goes to show you how much Kobe's grown," Nami said. "I wonder how he's been doing these days. We haven't really seen him much lately." "I'm sure we'll meet up with him in the New World, eventually," Zoro said. Just then, Luffy stood in between Alvida and Kobe, to the latter's surprise. "Well said," Luffy praised as he took the full brunt of Alvida's mace. However, it obviously wasn't sharp enough to puncture the boy, who grinned as he looked up at the fat pirate woman. "That's not gonna work," he said. "I told you, I'm made of rubber." On that, he pushed the mace away before he started to stretch his arm way back. "Gum! Gum! Pistol!" he shouted before he punched Alvida right in the gut and sent her flying off the ship and into the sea. "HMPH, Sanji scoffed. She didn't have a chance to begin with. "Well, she did only have 5 million berries on her head," Brook pointed. "She could have provided a more decent challenge," Frankie said. "Ah, beggars can't be choosers, though." Kumi looked over at Aika, who was gaping with twinkling eyes. "You okay, Aika?" asked Kumi. "So, awesome," Aika whispered. "Yeah, you're okay," Chopper said with a giggle. "Hey, das crew," which made them yelp in fright. "Get Kobe a dinghy. He's leaving to join the Marines, right now." "Why yes, sir," the pirates cried as they ran to get a boat. Not long after, the Marines had soon appeared and began to open fire on the two ships. Luffy and Kobe quickly got on the dinghy the pirates gave them and landed in the water with it. As they did, though, Luffy's eyes momentarily locked with the tawny brown eyes of a familiar young woman with short, orange hair. And not long after, the Straw Hats gasped. "Oh, my god," Nami whispered. "That's me, big sis. You cut your hair?" Aika asked. "Actually, Aika," Sanji began, "your big sister used to have short hair, but then she grew it out." "Oh," Aika realized. Not long after, the Straw Hats heard a loud thumping sound, and the memory seemed to turn a light pink. "Is that Luffy's heartbeat?" Chopper asked. Nami gasped as she put her hands on her cheeks, realizing what this meant, while Robin chuckled. "It seems to me," Robin began, "that this is the moment when Luffy fell in love with you, Nami." He only caught one glimpse at me," Nami said. "When he said he fell in love with me the moment he saw me. I thought he meant back when we met in Orangetown. I didn't think he meant this." Aika was trying her hardest not to squeal at this fact, but unfortunately, her joy was short-lived, for a cannonball hit the water, creating a large wave. Once it dissipated, past Nami had vanished while Luffy and Kobe drifted on. "Well, looks like we managed to get away," Kobe said while Luffy. "Man, that sure was fun," said Luffy. "Of course he would find it fun," Usopp mumbled. "He narrowly escaped from a life-or-death situation, as always." "That's Big Brother for you," Aika exclaimed. "So, Luffy?" Kobe asked. "Since you're looking for the One Piece and all, that means you're heading for the Grand Line, right?" "Yeah, that's right," Luffy answered. "They say that place is a pirate's graveyard, you know," Kobe said, worriedly. "Well, he's not wrong," Frankie muttered. "Indeed," Brook said. "Many a pirate has lost his or her life in the Grand Line and the New World. That's why I need a strong crew," Luffy said before he paused for a moment. "So, this pirate hunter guy, what's he like?" "Huh?" Kobe asked. "You mean Roronoa Zoro? Well, lately, I heard he had been captured by the Marines." "Really?" Luffy asked, sounding a bit disappointed. "Huh, guess he's pretty weak, then." Hearing that caused Zoro to sneer while some of the Straw Hats seemed to snicker. "I wonder how the Marines caught Zoro," Kumi said. "He might have been dead drunk and fell asleep," Blizzard quipped. "That's a possibility," Sanji smirked. "Shut up," Zoro barked. "Like any of you know." "Calm down, Tiger," Robin said as she put her hand on his shoulder. "He's far from weak," Kobe exclaimed. "That guy's a total monster. They say he's like a living, breathing demon in human form." "Wait a minute. Why are you asking?" "Because," Luffy began, "I think I might make him part of my crew." Kobe questioned, and the memory soon faded to black. It was dark, and his chest felt tight. Sweat beaded down his face as he tried to swallow the saliva in his mouth. but the shackle around his neck was so chafing and it made it difficult. The chains around his ankles, wrists, and his whole body didn't help matters. Through it all, though, all he could do was glare up at the very one who held him captive. Cover. Comfortable, Straw Hat? Asked Cover, mockingly. Luffy didn't speak. He only glared at the black dragon in defiance. Keep silent all you wish, Cover said, but sooner or later, you won't be keeping up that bravado for long. Says you, Luffy hissed. It's gonna take a hell of a lot more to break me, and my friends will be here before that happens. I am willing to wait, Cover said. The longer I wait for you to break, the more appetizing your spirit will be for me. He then chuckled darkly. You must hold those fools you call your crew in high regard. Are you sure you want to keep believing in them? If I don't believe in them, Luffy smirked, then there's nothing to believe in. HMPH, Cover scoffed. We shall see. On that, the dragon vanished into the darkness. And Luffy sighed as he looked up at, well, wherever it was he was looking. They'll save me. I know they will. XXX. Meanwhile, the Straw Hats had just finished washing the memory of how Luffy had met Kobe and how he had defeated Alvida with a single punch, as well as how Luffy fell in love with Nami the moment he saw her. Now, they were watching the duo sailing along the sea, heading towards an island. During this time, the Straw Hats took a moment to recap on what they had learned from the previous memory. So it looks like Luffy sought out Zoro from the beginning, Nami mused. Makes sense, I guess, Sanji concurred. After all, Zoro was pretty infamous around the East Blue. Was he? Brook asked. It's nothing to make a big deal over, Zoro said. Pay it no mind. So, Kobe, said Luffy, is this Zoro guy really a monster? Yeah, he is, Kobe answered. Plain as day. Roronoa Zoro, the pirate hunter. I hear he's like a bloodthirsty dog. He hunts down criminals in the East Blue and viciously cuts them down with his sword like a beast. They actually call him a living, breathing demon in human form. Scary. Chopper, Aika, and Kumi squeaked as they embraced each other in fright. Oh, please, Zoro muttered. All those are nothing but exaggerations and nothing more. So I would cut down a few guys and leave 'em bloody. What's the big deal? Oh, my, Robin said in slight surprise. That's not exactly a very good argument, Nami pointed out in slight disgust. I hadn't really decided if I'm gonna have him join me, yet, Luffy said. Maybe he's a good guy. He's in prison because he's not, obviously not, Kobe argued, but once again, his cries fell on deaf ears, and the Straw Hats chuckled a bit at the scene. You know, I can't help thinking that back then, Kobe might have been a little naive about certain things, Sanji spoke up. Yeah, me too, Frankie nodded, remembering back when Tom was arrested. Eventually, the duo had managed to dock at an island up ahead, with a marine base right on the other side. We made it, Luffy exclaimed. The town where the Marines are. Same old Luffy, Usopp said, getting excited about everything. Yo-ho-ho-ho, Brook chortled. Soon, Luffy and Kobe walked through the crowded streets of the marketplace, the former just walking along casually with his hands shoved in his pockets. All the while, Kobe kept trying to convince Luffy not to recruit Zoro, but still, the D-carrier didn't listen. He just picked up a pear, took a bite, and then paid the woman with what little money he had. Hey, Luffy said. Any chance you know anything about this Zoro guy? Upon hearing the swordsman's name, everyone in the marketplace jumped back, yelling in fright. Luffy, Kobe whispered. Maybe we should avoid saying Zoro's name while we're here, okay? Geez, Zoro. What did you do? Asked Frankie. I didn't do a damn thing, Zoro replied. Get off my back. Blizzard snickered a bit, causing the swordsman to side-eye at him. And you, too, Mutt, Zoro shouted, which caused Blizzard to growl at him. Enough, already, Nami said as she pushed the two of them apart. Good grief. So Kobe, Luffy began, how about we head to the marine base? I guess, Kobe answered, but I don't think I'm ready, yet. Oh, yeah. I heard the base here is run by Captain Morgan. Once again, the townsfolk yelled and jumped back in fright, taking both Kobe and the Straw Hats back. Luffy, however, just laughed. This is such a weird place, he said. That was kinda weird, Aika said. Yeah, why'd they freak out when Kobe said that guy's name? Kumi asked. No idea, Blizzard answered. Well, that was a little strange, Kobe said. I could understand people freaking out because of Zoro being mentioned, but why would they jump when I mentioned Captain Morgan? Maybe it's a strange custom, Luffy mused. Obviously, this Captain Morgan is feared in this town, Robin said. Figures, Nami sneered. Soon, Luffy and Kobe arrived in front of the marine base. I can't believe I'm finally here, Kobe said, tearfully. I'm afraid. This is where we part ways, Luffy. Once again, though, Luffy wasn't listening, for he was busy trying to climb over the wall. Keyword being, trying. Where's the foothold? He asked as he struggled to cling to the wall. Get down from there, what are you doing? Kobe yelled. They'll see you. Typical Luffy, Sanji muttered in disbelief. Now where's this demon? Luffy asked as he surveyed the courtyard. Why would Big Brother think that Zoro's a demon? Aika asked. It might be because Luffy thought Zoro was misunderstood, Nami said. Remember, Luffy was called a demon by those children. I never really thought of that, Zoro muttered. There he is, Luffy exclaimed as he dropped down from the wall and ran to the other side. I'm gonna get closer. Once he reached the other side, he climbed up the wall, and it was there that he saw a man tied up to a crucifix. And needless to say, the Straw Hats were quite shocked to see his condition. His white shirt was stained with sweat, a green haramaki sash, and a black bandana around his head. This man looked nothing close to a demon. In fact, he looked half dead. Is that Zoro? Usopp questioned. My word. Brook whispered in disbelief. He wanted to tell a skull joke, but this just wasn't the time or place for it. Holy hell, man, Frankie exclaimed. What happened to you? Zoro looked away, feeling his pride dwindling, while Robin covered her mouth in shock. Nami promptly covered Aika and Kumi's eyes, while Sanji's mouth gaped open to the point where his cigarette fell out. He could see past Zoro's ribs under the fabric of shirt, and the way his jawline showed on his cheeks. Seeing it made the cook growl in anger as he clenched his fists. Sanji? Chopper asked, worriedly. They're starving him, Sanji hissed. Those bastards are starving him to death, how dare they? Whoa, Sanji, Blizzard exclaimed. Take it easy, I know this isn't easy for you to watch. By now, Kobe had joined Luffy at the wall, and upon seeing past Zoro, despite his current state, he still looked terrified of the swordsman. That's him. He whispered. That's Roronoa Zoro. Hey, if we untie him, he can get away, right? Luffy asked with an impish grin. Are you insane? Kobe questioned. If you untie his ropes, he'll kill you on the spot. Don't worry about it, Luffy assured. I'm pretty strong. Hey, you two, past Zoro called out, causing Kobe to squeal in fright. You're an eyesore, get lost. Eek, Kobe shrieked. Luffy, please, just forget about recruiting this guy, okay? In the meantime, Chopper was surveying past Zoro with his professional eyes. The sunken look in his eyes, the pale tone of his skin, the way it almost hung off his bones, and how his breath seemed a bit shallow. Zoro was dying, the lit what? Blizzard asked. Being out in the hot sun, being starved and forced to go without water, Chopper said. Clearly, it's slowly killing him. I estimate he'd be dead within a week. My God. Robin whispered in disbelief. Zoro's eye went wide in shock. Sure, he knew how bad things were for him, back then. But he was actually that close to dying. Just then, a ladder appeared by Luffy and Kobe, and soon after, a little girl appeared. She looked to be about Aika's age, and had short, brown hair that was done up in little pigtails. She also had on a blue and purple striped dress with a white hood. Who's that? Aika asked. Hey, that's Rika, I think, Zoro said. Rika? Nami repeated. You know her? I helped her and Mom out when I first came here, Zoro said. I'll explain, later. Rika turned to look at Luffy and Kobe before she put a finger to her lips, telling them to be quiet. She then climbed over the wall and approached past Zoro, who glared at her. What the hell do you want? He asked. You're probably really hungry, right? Asked Rika before she held up a bundle, which contained 2 rice balls. I made these for you. That's so sweet of her, Nami cooed. You're gonna get in a lot of trouble, little girl, past Zoro said, bluntly. Now go home. But you haven't eaten anything for days, said Rika, and this is my first time making them, so please eat them. Past Zoro's eyes went wide before he glared and turned away. I'm not hungry, he shouted. Now beat it, brat. But Rika started, feeling hurt. I said get lost or else I'll kick your little ass, past Zoro barked. Hey, that's no way to treat a little girl, Sanji said. Zoro, why were you so desperate for that girl to leave her alone? Asked Robin. I didn't want her getting into any trouble, okay? Zoro replied. What do you mean? Asked Aika. So this isn't about your pride as a swordsman? Nami inquired. Just shut up and watch, Zoro barked. Bullying kids, are we, Roronoa Zoro? Everyone turned to see a scrawny man wearing a rather fancy-looking suit and had a bowl haircut, accompanied by 2 other marine soldiers. Who's that? Asked Chopper. Wait a minute, Nami said as she squinted a bit before she gasped. Oh, my god, it is. That's Helmpu. What? Frankie questioned. You're kidding, that's him. The marine who challenged Zoro in Water 7, asked Robin. Past Zoro sneered, obviously irritated upon seeing Helmeppo. I see you're still a bit lively, Helmeppo said before he noticed Rika and her rice balls. Oh, did you bring those for me, little girl? He then snatched one of them and took a bite. Despite Rika's protests, but after he chewed for a while, he then began to spit it out. Bleg. What is this? It's all sweet. You're supposed to season rice balls with salt, you dumb brat. I just thought it would taste better sweet, Rika said, innocently, but then Helmeppo knocked the other rice ball out of her hands and stomped it into the dirt. No, stop it. Hey, Aika shouted. That's not nice, yeah, what a jerk, Kumi added. That bastard. Sanji cursed. How dare he waste food, and over such a trivial matter. No, Rika whimpered, tearfully. I worked so hard on those. Past Zoro only looked down at the child with sympathy. You obviously didn't read this sign, did you, little girl? Asked Helmeppo as he pointed to a poster. Anyone caught feeding or helping any prisoners will be executed by order of Captain Morgan. Hearing that caused Rika's skin to go pale. You know who my daddy is, don't you? Helmeppo asked with a smug grin. Please don't tell me he's going to kill that girl, Brook said. Relax, Zoro said. Even he's not that cruel. But now you see why I wanted her to leave so bad. Yeah, I see that now, said Nami. I know that Helmeppo's not that much of a threat, but Captain Morgan's a different matter. Rika looked up at Helmeppo with teary eyes, which caused him to glare at her in annoyance. Oh, you're not gonna cry, are you? Asked Helmeppo. I hate seeing crying kids. He then looked to the 2 soldiers behind him. You two, throw her out of here. Bebit sir, the soldier stammered. Are you questioning my orders? Helmeppo questioned. Throw her out or I'll tell my daddy on you. Talk about a daddy's boy, Frankie sneered. Why yes, sir, one of the soldiers said before he grabbed Rika by her hood and then tossed her over the gate. Thankfully, though, Luffy managed to catch her and turn so that his back hit the ground while holding her safely in his arms. That was horrible. Nami shouted. How could Kobe ever be friends with such a jerk? I don't know, Nami, said Robin. People tend to change. You bastard. Past Zoro hissed at Helmeppo. Well, you're quite stubborn, aren't you? Asked Helmeppo. He's lucky I was tied up, back then, Zoro sneered. Don't get cocky, Past Zoro said. Like I promised, I'm going to live through this whole month. This only caused Helmeppo to laugh. Well, do your best, Roronoa Zoro, he said as he walked away. Just 10 more days, Past Zoro reminded. If you manage to stay alive, that is, Helmeppo pointed out. What did he mean by that? Blizzard asked. Look, here comes Luffy, Kumi exclaimed as she saw Luffy approach the crucified swordsman. You're still here? Asked Past Zoro. You've been tied up and humiliated, Luffy said. You must be pretty strong, huh? Why's it any of your business? Past Zoro shouted. Well, if it were me, Luffy began, I would have gotten out of here in 3 days. Yeah, well I'm different from you, said Past Zoro as he smirked. I will make it through this challenge, and then I'll show them all. Defiant, even in the face of death, Sanji muttered. That's always been you, huh, Mosshead? Give it a rest, Zoro sneered. What? Sanji asked. It's a compliment. Man, you're sure stubborn, aren't you? Luffy asked before he turned to leave. Well, see ya. Wait, called Past Zoro, causing Luffy to stop and look at him. Can you pick that up for me? Luffy blinked before he glanced down at the ruined rice ball and then picked it up. You want to eat this? he asked. "'Cause it's mostly a ball of mud," said Luffy. "Shut up and give it to me, now," barked past Zoro, taking Luffy by surprise before he tossed the mud-ridden rice ball in his mouth. Past Zoro coughed and gagged, but managed to choke it down. "See, I told you," Luffy smirked. "Thank you," past Zoro said. "It was delicious. Tell the kid for me, okay?" A pause. But then Luffy smiled, and the memory ended there. "Zoro," Nami said. "You big softy, shut up," Zoro grumbled. "You're so nice, Zoro," Aika added as she hugged the swordsman's leg. "I said shut up, already," Zoro barked. "I just didn't want the kid to feel bad, okay? Sheesh." Sanji smirked, feeling his respect for Zoro grow a bit more. Even though he would never admit in a million years, and it wasn't just because he ate Rika's rice ball, but because how he was actually willing to let himself starve for a whole month. Something Sanji himself would never do. As for Robin, she smiled at her boyfriend, warmly, knowing that deep down, he always had a heart. "There's still something I don't understand, though," said Usopp. "How come you got arrested in the first place, Zoro?" "Well, you see," Zoro started, but before he could answer, a new memory soon began to play. It showed Luffy, Kobe, and Rika, sitting in front of the girl's mother's restaurant. She seemed elated, possibly because Luffy had conveyed to her what Zoro said about the rice ball. After a moment, she revealed to them the reason why Zoro got arrested. One day, Helmeppo showed up in town with his dog, Sorrow, which was really a wild wolf who ran rampant in the streets. The wolf went into the restaurant and menaced Rika and her mother, but when the vicious beast attempted to go after the girl, Zoro cut it down, saving her life. Of course, Helmeppo wasn't very pleased about this. That is until he looked as if he was going to realizing who the pirate hunter was. Knowing that he stood no chance against Zoro in a fight, he made a deal with the former bounty hunter. Instead, he would spare Rika and her mother if the swordsman could go 1 month without food. Zoro accepted the deal and willingly let himself get arrested on the spot. So far, in the memory, it had been about 3 weeks since his capture, and he was forced to endure Helmeppo's abuse since that day. "I don't believe it," Kobe whispered in disbelief, and sounding a little disheartened, too. "Man, I can't help but feel sorry for Kobe," Usopp said. "Yeah," Nami answered. In the span of just one afternoon, he was already exposed to the corruption that the Marines had. Even in the East Blue, Robin began, corruption spreads like a disease. However, here, this was only the tip of the iceberg. "You can say that again, sister," Frankie added. "I must say," Brook began as he put a bony hand on Zoro's shoulder. "What a stand-up fellow you are, Mr. Zoro, yo-ho-ho-ho-ho." "You're all right, Zoro," Blizzard smirked. "To think, I've been calling you a prude for so long." "Wow, Zoro," Chopper exclaimed with starry eyes. "You're so cool." "Zoro wasn't such a meanie, after all," Aika added. "PSH, of course not," Sanji smirked. "Even under all that rough exterior, he's still a marshmallow." "Shut it," Zoro barked with a blush forming on his cheeks. "Ah, Zoro," Robin said as she put an arm around his shoulder and traced her finger on his pecs in a circle. "You'll always be my tough guy." "At least one person gets it," Zoro muttered, momentarily kissing Robin on the cheek in gratitude. "As honorable as Zoro is," Nami began, "he's also pretty gullible." "Excuse me?" Zoro questioned. "What?" Nami asked. "I'm just saying, did you actually trust that idiot, Helmeppo, to keep his word?" "I'm gonna have to agree with Nami on this one," Usopp added. Hiding behind the navigator in case the swordsman went on a rampage. Helmeppo didn't seem like the honorable type. Zoro opened his mouth to argue, but ultimately grumbled as he looked away. "I take it that my point has been made," Nami surmised. "Shish," Sanji shushed. "Something's happening." The Straw Hats looked up to see Helmeppo enter the restaurant, propping his feet up on the table. "Hey, I'm hungry," he shouted, rudely. "Get me and my men a hot meal, for free." "All right away, sir," said Rika's mother. "What a sleazeball," Sanji muttered. "Be polite when you speak to a woman, and put your muddy shoes on the damn floor." "Easy, Sanji," Usopp eased as he put his hand on the cook's shoulder. "Remember, this is a memory." "Doesn't mean I gotta like it," Sanji sneered. "Ha ha 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 ha," Helmeppo laughed as he poured himself a glass of wine. "Since I've gotten bored of waiting, I decided I'm going to go ahead and execute Roronoa Zoro tomorrow. Look forward to it, everybody. Eat. The Straw Hats, save for Zoro and Robin, shouted. I knew it, Usopp shouted. I knew he couldn't be trusted. How could he do that? Kumi questioned. Zoro only had 10 more days. Disgraceful, Brook sneered. A man is bound to his word. Before anybody could even blink, Luffy suddenly rushed. No, more like flew toward Helmeppo with such speed. His hat fell off, and then decked him hard across the face and sent him flying across the floor until he collided with a wall. WH. Who the hell are you? Helmeppo questioned as he held his bruised cheek. Your worst nightmare, that's who, Sanji smirked. I'm surprised his jaw didn't break, Robin mused. I actually wish it did, Nami said. Luffy, stop, Kobe cried as he ran up and restrained the rubberman. This guy is S, Luffy growled, viciously. Tell me about it, Blizzard muttered in agreement. You hit me, Helmeppo cried. Not even my daddy, Captain Morgan, hits me. As if I care, Luffy barked. I'm telling my daddy on you, Helmeppo shouted. When I do, you'll be executed. Do you always have to have your daddy fight your battles for you? Luffy questioned. That's what I say, Nami said. What a spoiled little daddy's boy. Luffy, calm down, Kobe urged. Please, you shouldn't make the Marines your enemy. But, the Marines are already Big Brother's enemy, Ika said. Yeah, he is a pirate, right? Kumi asked. Well, here, not officially, Blizzard replied. The Marines will only recognize you as a pirate once you raised a pirate flag or work under someone who has. I decided, Luffy started with an all-too-familiar look of determination. Zoro's gonna join my crew. Huh? Kobe questioned in shock before the memory faded again. Although he didn't really show it, Zoro was stunned, and a bit touched, as well. He had heard from Kobe that Luffy stood up for his honor like that, despite the fact that he only just met him that day. And yet, to witness it like this, it was truly inspiring. I can't believe Luffy stood up for you, like that, Nami said. He barely knew you. If you think about it, Sanji began, it's not too different from when he stood up for Shanks. Yeah, Usopp smiled. I guess it isn't too different, is it? The memory shifted, once again, revealing Luffy standing in front of past Zoro. Although, he had a bit of a grimace on his face as he stood back a few feet. At first, the Straw Hats didn't know why. But then the thought might have occurred to them that perhaps Zoro's body odor wasn't very appealing to him at the moment. You again? Past Zoro asked. You've got way too much free time on your hands, huh? Listen, said Luffy, I'm gonna untie you, but when I do, you're gonna join my crew, okay? Wow, Nami muttered. He didn't even ask. That's Luffy for you, Usopp said. Once he's decided you're a member of his crew, you might as well give up and join him. Has Big Brother really always been that way? Ika asked. Oh, yeah, Sanji replied. Of course, he does mean well. It just gets annoying at first. For once, something we agree on, Zoro grumbled. What did you say? Asked past Zoro. I run a pirate crew, Luffy began, and I'm looking for people to join up. I refuse, Zoro said, coldly to the boy. You want me to become a criminal? Screw that shit. Since when did you care about being a bad guy or not? Asked Frankie. I didn't care, Zoro countered. I just didn't want to lower myself to become some SBAG criminal, alright? I also didn't like the thought of following somebody, back then. But you joined Luffy, anyway, Chopper said. I said, back then, Zoro repeated. Geez, what am I, a broken record? What's wrong with being a pirate? Luffy asked with a bit of a pout. They're despicable, said past Zoro. As if I'd lower myself to become one of them. Does it really matter, anyway? Luffy asked. Everyone thinks of you as this demon who's out for blood. As if I care what society thinks about me, past Zoro said with a smirk. I've never had any regrets in my life and I never will. I will make it through this challenge, and when I do, I'll set out to do what I want. Yeah, that's fine and all, Luffy began, but I already decided you're gonna join my crew. What? Past Zoro questioned. You can't just decide that. The Straw Hats couldn't help chuckling a little. Even Zoro seemed to laugh a bit, even though back then, it didn't seem very funny to him at the time. You're a swordsman, right? Luffy asked. Yeah, but that damn Marine son took mine, past Zoro answered. I'll get it back for you, Luffy started, but when I do, you'll have to join me. How are you so thick-headed? Past Zoro yelled as he struggled against his bonds. Luffy actually blackmailing somebody? Nami asked. Now that's a stretch, no pun intended. Hey, Sanji smirked. I didn't think even Luffy could do that to you, Moss head. Zoro only rolled his eye in annoyance. A little while later, Luffy was seen running towards the base and looked around for a moment. So where do I go from here? He asked before he heard some kind of commotion going on. Why up at the roof? There's something going on up there. He then smirked as he reeled his arm back. Let's have us a little look-see. Oh, no, Blizzard muttered with a bit of dread. I've got a bad feeling about this. You and me, both, Sanji added. Gum gum rocket, Luffy shouted as he went flying over the roof. A bit too high. Hooah. Oh, geez, I overshot. Thinking quickly, Luffy grabbed onto a nearby rope, which was attached to a giant statue of a man with an axe for a right hand. When Luffy landed on the roof, the top half of the statue cracked, causing the Marines who were hoisting it up to scream in horror while Luffy sheepishly raised his hand. Sorry about that, he apologized. Then, crash! Half of the statue fell over and crashed to the ground, crumbling into rubble. Well, Frankie began, that just happened. He's always breaking something, Nami groaned. Ha 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 ha, Zoro laughed. I saw that statue they were trying to hoist up, so that's what happened to it. Just then, the man that the statue resembled, Captain Axe-Hand Morgan himself, turned to Luffy with a furious expression. Arrest that brat so I can kill him myself, he shouted. Sir, right away. The soldiers saluted, fearfully. That's him, Helmeppo cried. That's the guy who hit me, Daddy. Hey, it's you, Luffy exclaimed as he grabbed Helmeppo by the shoulder, causing him to shriek in terror. I've been looking all over for you. Something I need to get back from you. With that, he grabbed Helmeppo and ran into the base, and the whole time, the Straw Hats were trying so hard to keep straight faces as they heard Helmeppo screaming like a girl. That guy's a real coward, isn't he? Aika asked. He sure is, Squirt, Zoro smirked, he sure is. The whole time Luffy ran, he dragged Helmeppo along the floor, running through the hallways, this way and that for several minutes. Hey, Luffy called. Here's Zoro's sword? I'll tell you, Helmeppo cried. Just stop dragging me. Luffy soon braked to a halt while Helmeppo hung limply in his hand. So, where is it? Luffy asked. In my room, Helmeppo whimpered. We actually just passed it. What? Luffy questioned. Why didn't you say something sooner? Probably because you were dragging him across the floor, Brook muttered. Don't move, shouted a Marine soldier as he and several others appeared, aiming their rifles at Luffy. Put Helmeppo down, ordered another. No thanks, Luffy said as he held Helmeppo up like a shield. But you can go ahead and shoot if you want. No, don't shoot, cried Helmeppo as Luffy rushed forward. Get out of the way, Man. Luffy sure was underhanded back then, huh? Sanji asked. I guess he realized some pirates have to act that way, Nami said, although the thought of her fiancé using someone as a meat shield did unnerve her a bit. As for Zoro, he was loving every minute of watching Helmeppo suffer, so evident by the grin on his face. A bit later, Luffy arrived in Helmeppo's room. And needless to say, it seemed a bit, well, extravagant wasn't really the word for it. It looked more feminine than anything, with pink walls and flowers decorating every part of the room. There was even a vanity mirror with a makeup box. Wow, Sanji said in surprise. I see he likes it, pink, Robin mused. Oh, my god, even I'm not that girly, said Nami. Yeah, I might like the color pink, Chopper began, but this is overdoing it. Huh, Zoro muttered. You know, I thought he wore mascara. Luffy's eyes scanned the room until he spotted 3 swords, 2 black ones and the familiar white hilt of Wado Ichimonji leaning against the corner. All right, I found it, he exclaimed as he looked them over. Wait a sec. There's 3 here. He looked over at Helmeppo. Hey, sissy, which one of these is Zoro's, huh? To his surprise, Helmeppo was unconscious and foaming at the mouth. What a wuss, Blizzard muttered. Yeah, I've been dragged around by Luffy a lot of times, Usopp said, but I never fainted like that. What about that one time when Nami started? Okay, that's nice, the sniper interjected. Is this really the same guy we saw back in Water 7? Asked Frankie. Just then, Luffy heard a commotion going outside, so he turned and looked out the window, only to gasp upon seeing Kobe and past Zoro facing down a firing squad that was headed by Morgan. Oh, no, Kobe. Zoro, Luffy cried. Oh, no, they're gonna kill Zoro, and Kobe, too, Ika cried. What's Luffy gonna do? Kumi asked, worriedly. Why would Morgan want to kill you ahead of schedule? Asked Robin. Oh, I dunno, Zoro said. Something about me and Luffy conspiring to overthrow him or some such crap. Knowing that time was of the essence, Luffy grabbed the swords, strapped them to his back, then grabbed the window frame and walked backwards, which caused his arms to stretch, and then… Goom! Goom! Rocket, whoosh! He soon shot himself out through the window, shattering the glass before he landed in between past Zoro and the Marines with his arms outstretched. Just as the soldiers opened fire, Kobe cried out in alarm while past Zoro gaped. But Luffy smirked as the bullets stretched his skin. That won't work, Luffy shouted as he bounced the bullets back, causing the Marines to shriek as they all scattered to avoid their own bullets. Ha 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 ha. That won't work on me. I told you I was strong. WH. What the hell are you? Past Zoro questioned. Luffy grinned before he turned to Zoro while giving a thumbs up. I'm Luffy. The man who's gonna be king of the pirates. What? Past Zoro asked. You, the king of the pirates? Do you even know what you're saying? King of the pirates means king of the pirates, Luffy replied. What else could it possibly mean? If I didn't know you better, Usopp began. Seeing Luffy bounce those bullets back looked like it gave you quite a shock, Zoro. Yeah, Sanji smirked. You actually looked pretty scared to me. Shut your hole, Zoro barked. For your information, that was the first time I saw someone deflect bullets. It's not really all that surprising, if you think about it, Robin pointed out. Devil fruit powers are rare in the Four Blues. That's why some people deem those with powers as monsters. Can we please not bring that up? Ika asked, holding herself. Sorry, sweetie, Robin apologized. So I found your sword, Luffy said as he held out the 3 katanas to Zoro. I didn't know which one was yours, so I grabbed all 3 of them. They're all mine, past Zoro said as he wriggled his arms in his ropes, as if itching to grab his swords again. I practiced Santoryu, the 3-sword style. Luffy hummed for a moment before he grinned. Just hurry up and take them already. Just know that once you join me, you become a criminal or else get killed here, execution style. What are you, the son of the devil? Zoro asked with a grin. If that's what I have to do to live, then so be it. I'll become a pirate. All right. Luffy cheered, heaving the swords up in the air. I got my first crewmate, best day ever. All right, past Zoro shouted. I get it, now hurry up and get me out of here, will ya? Luffy sure looked excited. Nami smiled. He's so happy because Zoro became his friend, Ika piped up. Well, the feeling wasn't exactly mutual, back then, Zoro admitted. If guns don't work, Morgan started, then cut them down. On that, the Marines charged forward with their cutlasses, while Luffy and Kobe tried to untie past Zoro. RRRGH, Luffy grunted as he kept trying to loosen the knots. Stupid Marine knots. Maybe I should have taken that knot tying lesson from Grandpa. Stop screwing around, past Zoro shouted. Why didn't Luffy just cut him free? Asked Chopper. Because Luffy didn't even think about it, that's why, Blizzard said. Man, Luffy sure was a dunce, Kumi added. Big brother's not that big a dummy, right? Ika asked. Should we tell her? Usopp queried. Are you kidding? Sanji chided. That's funny, Luffy said. The knots got tighter instead of looser. Gimme one of my damn swords now, past Zoro demanded as the Marines were closing in on them. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Luffy quickly handed one of the katanas to the swordsman, who somehow managed to cut himself free before he grabbed the other 2 swords from the rubberman's hands, and then, as quick as a flash, past Zoro jumped in front of the Marines, using his swords to block their own blades. The next one who moves dies, he warned, causing the Marines to cry comical tears. Scary, cried one of them. Wow, Usopp exclaimed. Did you see that? He was so fast. Zoro, you were so cool, Aika chimed in with starry eyes. Yeah, you sure were, Chopper added. That's when past Zoro looked at Luffy. Today, I become a criminal, fighting against the Marines, he said, so I'll become a pirate, that I can promise you. He then glared at his new captain. However, I'll tell you this. I actually have my own ambitions. Ambitions, huh? Luffy repeated. I have a dream to become the world's greatest swordsman, past Zoro said with great determination and intensity. So if you do something that forces me to give that up, I'll have to have you slice your stomach open and spill your guts. Did you seriously just tell Luffy to commit seppuku? Nami asked in disbelief. Well, Zoro stammered. Wait, what is seppuku? Aika asked. It's the ancient practice of disemboweling oneself to restore to honor to themselves or their family, Robin answered, nonchalantly. Huh? Aika tilted her head in confusion. Wait. Disemboweling, Chopper whispered before he gasped in horror. Zoro, you wanted Luffy to kill himself? What? Aika questioned before she fainted. Oh, my god, Aika, Nami cried as she ran to her side. Zoro, how could you? Kumi asked. Now, wait a minute, Zoro shouted. I can explain. Things were different back then, okay? Still, Frankie said, to think you were willing to go that far for your ambition. Sanji, Blizzard, and Brook didn't say a single word, but instead glanced at each other worriedly as they thought back to when Zoro faced off against Kuma on Thriller Bark. They knew things must have been different than when they first met, since the swordsman was so willing to give up his own life and his ambition for the sake of his captains. However, if Luffy actually did find out the truth behind what happened that day, would he have actually committed the act? Sanji, Blizzard, Brook? The two looked to see Nami, who stared at them worriedly just as Aika was beginning to wake up. You guys okay? The navigator asked. You guys didn't say a word? We're fine, Sanji replied. Never better, Brook added with Blizzard nodding in agreement. Okay, Nami said. If you says so. Robin only glanced at the three before she sighed silently. The world's greatest swordsman, huh? Luffy asked. That's perfect. The future king of the pirates wouldn't have any less on his crew. You got that right, past Zoro smirked. Whether I'm a saint or a demon, I will spread the name, Zoro, throughout the world. What are you doing, you idiots? Morgan questioned. Execute them, right now. It seemed that the Marines were too frightened of past Zoro to do anything, and Luffy saw this as his chance. You might want to duck, Luffy called out as he lifted his leg, which began to stretch, gum, whip. With a single sweeping motion, Luffy kicked the Marines away while past Zoro ducked down, just barely managing to dodge the attack. Morgan only gaped in shock while Kobe, and Aika, Kumi, and Chopper cheered for him. What the hell are you, anyway? Past Zoro asked. I'm just a guy who ate the gum fruit, Luffy answered as he bent his knee. What's a gum fruit? Past Zoro asked in confusion. A rubber person? One of the soldiers questioned. So, he really did eat a devil fruit, Morgan sneered. Captain, what do we do? Asked another soldier. We're no match for someone like that. Yeah, and Roronoa Zoro is fighting with him, added another. Seriously? Blizzard asked. Zoro's practically half dead and they're wussing out? Yeah, Chopper said. The Marines in the East Blue sure were wimpy, huh? At least they knew what they were up against, Usopp pointed out. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta know when you're licked, Frankie agreed. However, Morgan did not look the least bit pleased about this turn of events. To those of you who had just complained, Morgan began, this is a direct order. Take your guns. And blow your brains out. I have no use for weaklings like you. The Straw Hats all gaped, and to their shock, the soldiers actually pointed their rifles at their heads, and by the looks on their faces, they could tell they really didn't want to do it. Some of them were even crying. My god, he's depraved, Brook cried in horror. Were they really about to shoot themselves? Nami questioned. Robin didn't seem very surprised. Back when she was Miss All Sunday in Baroque Works, she saw Crocodile order one of the Billion's agents to shoot himself in the head when he failed an assignment, calling him weak. What the hell is wrong with these Marines? Asked past Zoro, while Luffy, ever straightforward, charged at Morgan before the Marines could try and intercept him. then geared up to punch him in the face. However, the Marine captain raised his axe, using the side of the blade to block the rubberman's fist. "A mere civilian who has absolutely no rank is no match for the likes of me," Morgan shouted. "First Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan." "And I'm Luffy," Luffy greeted, casually. "Nice to meet ya." "Die," Morgan roared as he tried to cut Luffy in half with his axe, but he jumped out of the way, causing the blade to hit the ground, which cracked from the impact. "Whoa," Ika cried. "He's strong, he might be," Zoro said, "but he's way too big and slow, and having that axe in his arm doesn't help, and meanwhile, Luffy is swift because of his smaller size." In no time at all, Luffy proved Zoro's point when he easily knocked Morgan down to the ground with a single kick. "What a chump," Frankie said. "Seriously, is this the best that Marines from the East Blue can do?" "Marine rankings in the Grand Line and East Blue have a vast difference," Robin explained. "Morgan may be a captain, but if he were in the Grand Line, he'd be something lower, like a lieutenant." "But what about Smoker?" Usopp asked. "He was a captain, and he completely mopped the floor with Luffy." "To be fair," Sanji started, "Smoker was a Logia-type devil fruit user, therefore, Luffy couldn't even touch him back then." True, Usopp nodded. "Almost hard to believe he's a vice admiral now," said Nami. "You talk about being a Marine," Luffy spoke up as he grabbed Morgan's shirt collar, "but you're destroying Kobe's dream." He then slugged Morgan across the face. "Hey, Straw Hat, stop," a familiar, almost whiny voice shouted, but Luffy didn't listen as he kept punching Morgan. "Hey, didn't you hear me? Can't you see that I have a hostage over here?" Luffy finally looked up, only to see Helmeppo pointing a pistol at Kobe's head. However, the situation didn't look nearly as serious, since Helmeppo was shaking so badly and he wasn't even holding the pistol right. "You have got to be kidding me," Usopp said. "That's not really a good way to take someone hostage," said Robin. "Yeah, Kobe could have easily ran away," Nami said. "If he wasn't scared, that is," Sanji pointed out. Luffy only blinked at Helmeppo, while Kobe shivered with fear. However, he took one look at Luffy, who grinned at him, and that was enough to give him his confidence back. "Luffy, don't worry about me," he shouted. "I'm prepared for anything that happens." "Well said," Luffy grinned as he put a hand on his shoulder and began to walk toward Helmeppo. "You hear that, you big idiot? Kobe is ready to die by your hand?" "Don't you move," said "Don't move or I'll shoot. I swear it." "What a moron," Blizzard muttered. "This is actually almost embarrassing to watch." Kobe sure was brave, though, Ika added. "He just looked at Big Brother and that was all he needed to get his confidence. That's what I do whenever I feel like I need to be brave. I just think of Big Brother, smiling at me." Sanji chuckled as he ruffled Ika's hair, but then Chopper suddenly shrieked. Morgan." The little reindeer stammered as he pointed behind Luffy, where Morgan stood, raising his axe. "Oh, no," Kumi cried. "Look out, Luffy, behind you," Kobe shouted. Gum. Luffy started as he reeled his arm back. "First Marine Captain Axe Hand Morgan," Morgan shouted as he prepared to slice Luffy right down the middle. "Do it, Daddy," Helmeppo shouted as he pulled Kobe into a choke hold. "Hurry up and kill him." "Pistol," Luffy shouted as he threw his first at Helmeppo, punching him right in the face before he could pull the trigger. At that moment, Luffy grinned. "Nice." At first, the Straw Hats didn't understand, until they saw that Morgan's axe was just mere inches away from his head. Then, he collapsed, revealing past Zoro behind him with his blades covered in blood. "Zoro," Luffy said as he glanced back. "I'm just doing my job, Captain," Zoro smirked, and the Straw Hats all smiled.